Makbada.
Kwani ni nini inaendelea hapa?
Hapa niko kuhesabu siafu alafu nizioshe.
Nenda kuambia mganga umechukua.
Cheki wewe.
Ala. Ngoja wacha kuingilia hapo.
How are you? Good morning. It's 30th of June, 2025. Beautiful Monday morning. A very cold day in the city and, of course, the country at large. Karibu sana to the program. This is Good Morning Kenya, right here on KBC Channel 1. How was the weekend? A peaceful one, right? Okay. So here we are. Today is another day after a week. It was a crazy one. A lot of things happened over the past 1 week. Let me just say the month of June tested our patience and our tenacity as Kenyans to push. All right? That is really what happened. The month of June was that month for us as Kenyans. We just hope that the month of July is going to be a good one, so to speak. But to the families of many people who were affected in one way or another, I bet it's not going to be a good month, even moving forward. All right? So it was a week of and a month of say this, I did not say that. I said this, I did not mean it. A lot of communication coming there and rebuttals here and there, politicians also going against each other's necks. So let's talk about siasa, losses and recovery. Today on Ion Politics, let's talk about siasa, losses and recovery. Now, this is what happened last week. We all know the destruction that we witnessed in the city. So when there is politics, of course, when it comes to Mandamano, there were losses experienced across the country. Police stations were burned, shops were looted, and lives were lost. So let's talk about recovery. What is the process of recovery when it comes to that? Who pays for such damages? Insurance companies are facing one of the biggest plunge in that industry because you'll have to compensate, if at all, many of the business owners insured their premises. All right? So let's talk about that recovery. But the most important one, for those who did not insure their premises or their property, who pays for that? It's a total loss, right? So let's talk about siasa, losses and recovery. Crispus Wathimba is an engineer. He's also a political analyst and governance expert. He'll be here. Francis Kavyu. He's majority leader Machakos County, but he's also an accountant by profession, as well as Ronald Bosi, group managing partner, Ronald's Africa. Let's talk about finance today when it comes to politics. Besha, nakwambo katikati. Nego Vivian, Nego. Nego.
Of course.
Very good. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Victor. And that's a really, really good conversation just to try and see what way forward. How do we forge ahead from here? We definitely are going to be staying tuned for that. And today being a Monday, we will also be having Family Check right here on the show. And we get to continue with the conversation that we had started last week. And that was, is love enough to sustain a relationship? Is love alone enough to sustain a relationship, for the relationship to be healthy and long-term? That is the conversation that we will be having today, and I will be joined by the same guests. We'll be having Nelly Mutai, who's a multimedia creative and actress. We'll also be having Anthony Gaido, who's a psychologist, mentor and mental health champion, as well as Mite, who's a trainer, mentor, and the CEO Pro Mentors Africa. You definitely want to stay tuned for that conversation. And also just to let you know, there's a special sitting at the Senate that will be happening today at around 10 a.m., where the Senate is set to start the process of examining the impeachment of Isiolo governor, that is Governor Abdi Ibrahim Hassan Guyo. That will be happening at the Senate today at around 10 a.m. and we definitely are going to be covering that for you right here on Channel 1. And now allow me to hand you over to the man who's just landed from Japan. Mike, good morning. How are you feeling the weather in Nairobi this morning?
Ohio gozaimasu. That is to say good morning in Japanese.
Ohio
gozaimasu.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Yes. Yes. Ohio gozaimasu. Seriously.
How do we reply to the greeting?
You just say Ohio gozaimasu. Seriously.
Yes.
So ni hao is usually alive?
Ni hao is Chinese.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
Ohio is Japanese.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you.
And yeah, the weather in Nairobi is agreeable compared to weather in Osaka. It was very hot actually. Even when it did rain, the temperatures were still high, but it was a good it is a good trip where Kenya is seeking to open more markets in terms of enhancing its export power, and they are looking forward to working or venturing into the Japanese market. That being said, welcome to the program. My name is Mike. Maybe this is where you get everything that you need to start off your day. I want to start you off with a quote that says, "Passion is the log that keeps the fire of purpose blazing." Passion is the log that keeps the fire of purpose blazing. So keep it Channel 1 and get to know more about what is happening. Good morning, Kenya. I keep telling you is the gold standard of starting your day. So keep it right here, and you can be part of the conversation happening here on all our social media platforms. We are at KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Marie.
A very good morning to you, Mike, and welcome back.
Thank you.
So, taniona nyuma ya tent ama nikuone nyuma ya tent uniambia umeniletea nini?
Acha tuonane
In
nyuma ya
Africa
tent.
you don't just come back empty-handed like that.
Acha tuonane nyuma ya tent tukiongea. Funza a few words here and there.
But nice to have you back.
Thank you.
And I hope you did have fun at the same time as you're working.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always a good thing to have, you know, that exposure, or at least that, you know, experience, because then it opens your eyes and to other people's culture.
Exactly.
And I do not want to say what you can compare and contrast when it comes to so many things between Japan and Kenya, but we shall talk. But thank you very much. A very good morning from wherever you're joining us. This is Good Morning Kenya, and just keeping with the aftermath of the Gen Z protest on Wednesday. Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, the vendor shot in the head by police, has been declared brain dead by doctors, and politicians condemn Wednesday's protest, even as Gachagua distanced himself from claims that he bankrolled the mayhem. And why don't we talk it out? That's the question by clergy and politicians as they call for a national dialogue over the issues bedeviling the country. And let's begin with our first story, where Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, the man who was shot by police during protests in Nairobi about 2 weeks ago, has been declared brain dead. At a media briefing, his family confirmed deterioration of his condition, as confirmed to them by doctors attending to him at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Let's get the details of that story. During the June 17th protests to demand justice for teacher Alberto Juang, who died while in police custody, two anti-riot policemen are seen confronting Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, a mask seller, before shooting him at close range. The impacts left him in such critical condition that doctors at the Kenyatta National Hospital have struggled to treat without much success.
The rest of the organs are still working, but the brain is fully dead. It's completely dead. So the brainstem, when we say the brainstem, it's the brain itself. Sasa tukikwambia umekufa akili, uko kweli? The family says they are at pains on the next course of action, as legally in Kenya, doctors are not permitted to switch off the machine, and with the bullet still lodged in his skull. So the first two fragments were removed. Now the third one ndio ilibaki ndani. For somebody to be confirmed he's dead, the heartbeat has to stop. But the heartbeat is slightly there. Tumeambiwa we wait for the fate.
As the family grapples with the inevitable, their plea is for justice.
The only thing we are requesting is justice for Boniface Mwangi Kariuki. That's the only thing we need, justice for our child.
The two police officers involved, Constables Clinzy Barasa Masinde and Duncan Kiprono, have since been interdicted and charged in court. With no government assistance yet, the family says the medical bills have now risen sharply and are appealing to well-wishers for aid.
Tunaomba usaidizi kutoka kwa Kenya, watusaidie kulingana na hiyo process na hiyo bill. Lakini tuigawa tujaambiwa kabisa ni ngapi tunatakikana.
The hospital bill now is quite higher. We are at 3 point something now.
They've launched a Boniface Mwangi Kariuki Medical Fund appeal through paybill number 7682551. That is 7682551, with the account name being that of the sender. And leaders are pleading with the young people to exercise their constitutional rights peacefully without engaging in acts of destruction and violation of other people's rights. Speaking separately, Busia Governor Paulo Tuoma and his Kakamega counterpart Fernandez Barasa acknowledged the support for the youth to exercise their democratic right, but also cautioned political leaders across the country against what they termed as inciting the youth along tribal lines. The leaders also strongly condemned the use of guns by leaders who are said to infiltrate the protests, consequently causing chaos, calling on security agents not to relent in pursuing those behind the violent acts. During the June 17th protests to demand justice for teacher Alberto Juang, who died while in police custody, two anti-Russian I hope my director will be bringing you that story in just a moment. Sorry for that mix-up. But DCP party leader and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has denied allegations that he organized and bankrolled Wednesday's demonstrations, speaking at the ACK Church Diocese of Nyahururu in Nyandarua County. The former Deputy President said he said that claims are aimed at making him and his allies look bad in the region. He questioned why those who destroyed businesses and torched police stations have not yet been arrested.
Sikia polisi ilichomwa Kikuyu. Ni uongo. Who can attack a police station? You have nothing, you have no gun, polisi wako pale kuna bunduki. Ati inamesekana ati watu wameingia polisi, ati wamechoma police station wameenda. Hao wale watu walichoma vitu ni watu si wa area hiyo, wajulikani. Ati ndio washike huyu Medo. Huyu Medo anaweza choma vitu hapa Nyandarua.
And calls for national dialogue are growing louder as political and religious leaders urge the government to tone down rhetoric and embrace peaceful engagement. Speaking in Kiambu County, former Interior Cabinet Secretary and presidential hopeful Dr. Fred Matiang'i and Githunguri Member of Parliament Gathoni Wamuchomba urged President William Ruto and his cabinet to stop blaming the opposition for the recent unrest and instead initiate urgent talks to address the country's deepening political and social crisis.
At the PCA Thika Church in Kiambu County, a section of political leaders joined congregants in prayer.
Good morning, church. Praise the Lord.
Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i alongside Githunguri lawmaker Gathoni Wamuchomba, used the platform to call on the government to abandon hardline stances and pursue national healing through dialogue.
This is a patriotic moment. It's a moment for all of us to cross ranks. Wacha tuweke kando hata hiyo mambo ingine yote, siasa nini. We're talking about uchaguzi is 25 or 26 months away. Our country must survive first, and we must be a stable nation before we get there. So let us not even stop talking about those businesses, about elections and stuff like that. Focus on the stability.
It's time for dialogue. Guns, tear gas, and accusations and blames are not going to give us a solution. Dialogue will. The government of the day must seek to have dialogue with the young people of Kenya. And we are waiting to see that kind of leadership, not the blame games of who did what, who said what. Enough is enough.
Matiang'i said the rising anger and violence witnessed across the country are unprecedented, and that the administration must acknowledge the depth of public frustration.
How can you say, now we are talking about one community, or saying, you know, the people who are on the streets came from Muranga and Nyeri? How can we trivialize such a serious national crisis and then subject it to, you know, hilarious jokes like those?
Mandera Governor Mohammed Adan Khalif, speaking separately, warned that the persistent protest may threaten the peace of the country and that constructive dialogue from authorities is necessary.
Because these are people that need to protect us and our property. Na pia tunaona mbaya tukiona vijana wetu ambao walikuwa na nia mzuri kufanya demonstration wawe infiltrated na goons na hawa pia waumie, because kuna vijana wamepoteza maisha yao.
Religious leaders have also weighed in, urging the government to be a voice of peace and not war.
Also the government and other people in charge of managing the security of the country not to be aggressive to them. Give them chance, let them do what they can do, and if that's the language they are communicating to us, let us arrange it in a way that, and prepare in a way that we understand what they are doing, because theirs is the future. We are only borrowing a future from them.
Let us handle people with respect and dignity. Whatever we respond, however we are answering, let us answer with a very, very encouraging language. People need hope. Those in the government and those in the opposition, we want to listen to these young people.
The calls for dialogue come following a series of youth protests calling for better governance, with the recent ones witnessing loss of lives and wanton destruction of property.
And away from that, President William Ruto has arrived in Seville, Spain, and will later proceed to the United Kingdom for an official visit. The head of state is expected to hold high-level talks aimed at strengthening bilateral ties and advancing Kenya's role in global economic affairs.
In a statement, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed said the trip will begin in Seville, Spain, where President William Ruto will attend the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development. Ruto is also expected to champion reforms in global financing and push for renewed multilateralism to tackle poverty, inequality, and climate change. Further, the head of state will hold talks with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and King Felipe VI on clean energy, youth empowerment, and climate resilience. In London, President Ruto will meet Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to sign the renewed Kenya-UK Strategic Partnership 2025-2030, anchored on trade, climate, technology, and security. The deals aim to double trade by 2030, enhance digital skills, and boost cooperation in climate action, security, and technology. The UK has committed 1.5 billion euros in new investments across priority sectors by 2030. Ruto will also witness the announcement by Lloyd's of London to establish a regional underwriting hub in Nairobi under the Nairobi International Financial Center, positioning the capital as the financial gateway to sub-Saharan Africa. Additionally, he will also deliver a keynote address at the Africa Debate in London to promote Kenya's economic transformation agenda.
And Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi is calling on Kenyans to cherish the peace and harmony in the country and strive to defend it at all costs. Speaking during an engagement with Kenyans in Abuja, Nigeria, Mudavadi said Kenyans should avoid vilifying security officers who spend most of their time defending citizens against dangers within the country's borders and beyond.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has credited the peace and security the country enjoys to the efficiency and professionalism of Kenya's security agencies. Speaking on the sidelines of the 32nd Afreximbank Summit in Abuja, Nigeria, Mudavadi warned of dire consequences should internal security fail.
If internal security in Kenya collapses, the inflow of the external threats will be a big problem for us.
He, however, called for a robust conversation between the citizenry and the administration to foster peace instead of protests that turn violent.
We need to have a very genuine conversation so that we can come together, we can talk to these issues, and we can help each other. Because at the end of the day, nobody will love Kenya more than the Kenyans themselves.
With annual remittance inflows aging closer to $1 trillion shillings, Mudavadi urged Kenyans in Nigeria to invest back home as not only a source of economic strength, but also a symbol of resilience, patriotism and belief in Kenya's future.
We are now seriously discussing about having a diaspora bond, so that Kenyans can, with these resources, including yourselves here, you can be mainstreamed into investment instruments that can support the development of infrastructure in your own country.
Police in Nia area of Sia County are investigating an incident where a police constable stationed in Nia police station shot dead his boss on Sunday morning. Game Yala Sub-County Police Commander Senior Superintendent Charles Wafula says Martin Mwendwa shot his boss on the chest and arms, killing him on the spot over an alleged misunderstanding between them. He was later killed by his fellow officers during an exchange of fire.
The residents of Ngiya area, Gemyala sub-county of Siaya County, woke up to bloody scenes.
Aliua mkubwa wake kitu kama saa 9 usiku ndio tulisikia mlio wa risasi. Lakini mato tulisikia mlio wa risasi karibu saa 12:40 ilikuwa inaelekea saa 1 asubuhi ya leo.
We were surprised that two of our officers have murdered each other.
A police constable identified as Martin Mwendwa armed himself with a G3 rifle, stormed the residence of his boss identified as Corporal Chesise while he was still asleep and shot him in the chest and arms, killing him on the spot over a misunderstanding.
Just want to urge our officers to restrain themselves, especially on this issue of shooting. We as the National Police Service, we have our teams which is already on the ground on the issue of counseling. We have put those measures in place.
The officer is also suspected to have been mentally sick.
We are sorry, but for Mato, I've seen him. He had mental problems.
We as the National Police Service, we have our teams which is already on the ground on the issue of counseling. We have put those measures in place.
Gemyala Sub-County Police Commander Senior Superintendent Charles Wafula says after committing the murder, Mwendwa took off towards Ngiya Girls National School before he was killed by his fellow officers following an exchange of fire.
But unfortunately, the officer was a bit resistant, forcing our officers also now to deal with him. In that, on the process of trying to manage him, they subdue him by fatally injuring him, so that they managed to arrest him.
The bodies of the two officers were moved to Siaya County Referral Hospital mortuary as investigations continue.
Parents and guardians of children with cerebral palsy and autism are encouraged to expose their children to their culture and help them connect with their heritage and traditions. During an event organized by Sangida Foundation for Guardians and Children with Cerebral Palsy in Laikipia North, that is in Laikipia County, children's rights advocates said exposure of these children to their culture helps them develop a stronger sense of identity and belonging.
Parents and guardians of children with cerebral palsy and autism from Laikipia North had a rare chance of uniting and spending a day together with their children in a special gathering held at Kiwanja Ndege Manyata in Laikipia County. The event, organized by the Sangida Foundation, provided a rare opportunity for families to connect, share traditional experiences and reinforce cultural identity among children living with cerebral palsy.
Kwa hivyo sasa tunataka hii watoto yetu akue kila mara mnakuwa mnatuletee, tukue pamoja, tufundishe lugha ya Kimasai, tufundishe kitamaduni ya kwetu, waelewe.
Tukikaa pamoja na hawa tunawafunza kama zile hadithi za kitambo, tunakaa na watu tunafurahia, tunafunzana hizo.
The children who are currently under the care of Sangida Foundation in Nanyuki town had been rescued from difficult living conditions and placed in a more supportive environment. Parents and elders cited that the Ma language is fast eroding among the younger generations and emphasized the need to pass down traditions.
Unakuta watoto wamesahau lugha. Hawajui Kimasai yetu, hawajui lugha yetu, hawajui utamaduni wetu. Na ndio maana saizi tumesema saizi watoto wetu warudi turudi tuangalie watoto wetu tufunze utamaduni.
Sasa ile mtoto aendelee kuwa na kuongea lugha yake. Kwa sababu sasa unaona wengine wanajaribu kuongelesha lugha imesahaulika.
During the event, parents called for the continuation of the exercise to make sure that the children continue reuniting with their kin. Martini Maslin for Good Morning Kenya.
To county news now, where the county government of Embu has dismissed claims that it distributed counterfeit maize seeds to farmers ahead of this year's planting season. The County Executive Committee member for Agriculture, John Dwega, has called on those spreading the malicious claims to refrain from politicizing the matter of food security. Let's get more details in our county news roundup.
The Embu County government has maintained that it distributed certified seeds sourced from reputable government institutions, including the Kenya Seed Company and the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization.
Wale wakulima tulipatia mahindi na tukawaambia vile watapanda. Si wote ambao walifuata hizo kanuni.
In Kembu County, a pig farming program launched 8 months ago by Kembu Governor Kimani Wamatangi is now showing results, with beneficiaries in Getundu North celebrating their successful multiplication of the livestock.
In 5 years time, itakuwa mbali sana juu kama saa hii nguruwe ishapata watoto kama 9.
And internally displaced persons caucus from Nyanza and Western regions have expressed fear over the rising political tensions in the country, warning that continued hostilities could trigger mass displacements.
Tunaona serikali kuna mahali wanachangia, opposition kuna mahali wanachangia. Na hizi zote impact inakuja kwa mwananchi.
Meanwhile, Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya says that there is a need to integrate practices of indigenous cultural beliefs into the healthcare system.
When we had Homa, there was a tradition where we were using just tradition, the Homa goes. But now, when the other modern medicine came in, it dominated. But I think that is a way to go for us to support them.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Defence Forces has begun constructing a new 100-bed facility that will include a trauma center and a doctor's plaza at the Kenneth Matiba Hospital in Murang'a.
We have had several accidents along this very busy highway where people are usually taken to Murang'a or Maraga, which is far away. So therefore, once this expansion happens, that will be catered for.
In Busia County, Governor Paul Otoma has challenged Busia farmers to embrace cooperative societies to reap the benefits in the agricultural sector.
Badala ya sisi kuendelea kulima kwa njia ile tunaita small scale, tunaweza etika watu wetu pamoja kupitia mambo ya cooperatives.
Finally, business operators in Kisii County are counting losses after a fire destroyed businesses valued at millions of shillings. The cause of the fire remains unknown as residents appealed for compensation.
Na leo usiku moto mkubwa ulitokea na umechoma na kuharibu mali ya maelfu na mamilioni ya wachuuzi hawa wanatenda kazi katika soko hili.
A look at sports now, where Nairobi United pulled off a major upset by defeating former FKF Premier League champions, that is Gor Mahia, 2-1 to clinch the 2025 FKF Mozart Cup at the Ulinzi Sports Complex in Nairobi. Second half substitute Enoch Marsha netted the winner after Ben Stanley had equalized for Gor Mahia, cancelling out an early opener from Frank Oya. The win caps off a remarkable season for Nairobi United, who recently earned promotion to the top flight after winning the National Super League. The loss means Gor Mahia ends the season trophyless. The newly promoted FKF Premier League side, coached by Nicholas Muyoti, knocked out several top-tier teams en route to lifting the trophy. The victory also earns them a ticket to represent Kenya in the CAF Confederation Cup, set to kick off in September, just after the conclusion of the African Nations Championship CHAN in August.
Tumekuwepo na tumekuja na rasmi wakatangazwa mabingwa rashasha zikapanda juu rasmi. Naiboys Nairobi United mabingwa wa Mozart Cup msimu wa 2024-2025. Hapa ni rasmi kwamba Naiboys wako ndani kimataifa, wako ndani ligi kuu. Hongera Nairobi United.
Well, and that report caps our news this morning. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Mariambo, and definitely my colleague Victor Lowe is on standby. He'll be bringing you Eye on Politics, that is talking all matters politics, all matters, protests and all that, as he had mentioned at the beginning of this particular program. My name is Mariambo, and stay with us if you can.
Sema na Spokes.
Bonga na Gava.
Hapo.
Sema na Spokes is a bold, enlightening television show that offers Kenyans a direct line to the heart of government operations. Hosted by the government spokesman, Isaac Mwaura.
Welcome to Sema na Spokes, Bonga na Gava.
This weekly program features candid conversations with senior government officials, cabinet secretaries, and heads of key parastatals as they break down their ministries' achievements, challenges, and strategic plans.
Cage aquaculture farming, yes. 8.7 billion.
Yes.
So there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of, and we have not even tapped the potential.
As we get closer to start constructing the first nuclear program, we should have a robust regulatory framework.
Thank you, the spokesperson, for this chance, where we are able to converse with our government.
Sema na Spokes.
Hii sio story ya jaba.
Sio story ya jaba.
Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima. Thank you.
Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Hello, fabulous ladies. Welcome to the talk show that's all about sisterhood, empowerment, and unfiltered conversation. We will be focusing on women. We believe in women.
We are really changing.
We are creating a safe space for women to connect, thrive, and share.
Just because you're a woman on a bike, you're labeled in a certain way.
It's not just a talk show, it's a movement.
When they're standing, we need to stand out.
From heartwarming tales to hilarious adventures.
They could ask me, Catherine, why are you learning?
We are turning the spotlight on women who are breaking barriers in their individual fields.
You have to have a vision.
You are the leaders of Kenya today.
Keeping it honest and relatable.
Mental health is real.
Yes.
Where there is no communication, there is no relationship.
Join the sisterhood on KBC TV for Dada's show.
All right. Good morning. Welcome back. It's now 7 minutes past 7 a.m. Karibu sana to the program. A beautiful Monday. And of course, after a very, very tough week, as I said earlier during the introduction of the program, it's been a very tough week and month of June. We thank God it's almost coming to an end. We just hope that the month of July and even moving forward is going to be a peaceful one. At least we need to recover. All right, and pick our pieces one by one. Okay, so today let's talk about politics, losses and recovery. Siasa, losses and recovery. This is just based on what we've seen in the month of June, and probably, you know, the month of June was a very tough one for the country, and even for the economy, for the tourism industry. A lot of people are now counting losses. So let's talk about siasa, losses and recovery. What is the process of recovery? Many people, in as far as this is concerned, many people are now struggling to come back to life based on what happened last week in the month of June and even previous months because of protests, fires and vandalism, looting that we've seen across the country. A lot of people, and in general now, the economy is now struggling in one way or another. You can imagine if the government is not able to collect taxes the way it used to, then it means that the economy is going to get a dent somewhere. So today let's talk about siasa, losses and recovery. Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is a political analyst and a governance expert, is here after, I want to say you're lost.
Good to see you. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to have me here.
Karibu sana. Where have you been and how is everything? I started asking you this question.
I've been very busy in Nakuru.
Right.
I sit at the Nakuru City Board, so we've been doing a few things in terms of managing the city.
Yes.
But now I'm back.
You'll tell us more.
Yes.
How is the governor doing?
She's doing well. She's back.
All right.
And steering the ship very well, yes.
Asante. All right, and Ronald Bossi, who is a group managing partner, Ronald's Africa. Ronald's is finance guru when it comes to mambo ya shilingi hapa na karatasi na mahesabu. He's good at that. He'll tell us how we are doing as an economy. You're good?
I'm okay.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Just a bit finalizing on the returns.
Yes.
You know, the deadline of now doing the returns for the last financial year, the 1st December. So it's a bit busy. Yeah.
All of us, I think, got some emails from KRA and messages from KRA.
Yeah.
Did you get yours? Now that you are filing yours.
Yeah, of course. Of course, I got mine.
You also get a message from KRA?
Yeah, I got mine.
How are Kenyans doing when it comes to now filing returns and just paying tax? Basically, an overview.
I believe there has been an improvement, especially with the sensitization in terms of compliance.
Yeah.
And of course, with the implementation of the iTax system and the e-teams and all that, has sensitized people in terms of compliance. So I believe the numbers in terms of people who are interested in aligning their tax affairs has increased, and therefore increasing the compliance. But you see, there's a difference between filing a return and paying taxes. You know, we've been struggling with the issue of the special table, whereby most people file returns but they don't pay taxes. So there's a difference between that. Even though there's an increased number of people filing returns, that you've seen that there isn't a very big increase in terms of the taxes being paid. Maybe one, there is no tax to be paid because people don't have money. Because again, when people don't have money,
so file nil.
They'll just file a nil return. But of course, again, what we've always talked about, how is KRA in terms of broadening the tax base and increasing those people who are able to pay taxes. And that means trying to make sure that most organizations are able to grow to formal level, whereby they're able to pay their taxes. Because what you see in this country, the people who only pay taxes are formal companies who are incorporated, and also people who are employed and all that. But those people running small businesses in the informal sector, they hardly pay taxes, except maybe for the VAT when they buy.
What's the projection for the financial year that we are getting into now?
Of course, the government is projecting to collect about 2.8 trillion from this particular budget. But again, that is not an easy, task for KRA, because most of the time you see KRA becoming very aggressive, pursuing every tax liability, giving a reasonable assessment, trying to meet those particular targets. And what I've said in the past, that to increase the tax collection by the government, you have to increase the level of business activity in the country, promote manufacturing, promote manufacturing, promote formalization of businesses, create jobs for people so that they can pay as you earn and all that, so that you can be able to increase. And the last time you saw that, for instance, the pay as you earn has gone very low. Most probably, again, is because of the expatriate, because you remember we increased work permit from about 500,000 shillings per year to almost 1 million shillings. And you realize that most people who actually, the expatriates are the ones who used to pay a lot of, in terms of pay as you earn. So we have limited the expatriate entry into the country, most probably also affecting the global business investments in the country, and therefore reducing our pay as you earn. At the same time, not creating a lot of jobs locally, therefore limiting the amount of income tax, individual income tax that the government can receive.
It's sort of very sad thing that we've not created that work environment and create more opportunities locally and production companies. But then when it comes to, before I get to substance, because this is basically what we're going to talk about here, Christmas, the recovery process, you know, the amount of money that the government lost. Let's not talk about on Wednesday alone, but the month of June. Okay? Christmas, last time we were here, a couple of weeks or a month ago, we have been looking at how the economy is getting the highs and the lows, because of politics. So let me just ask this question. So how do we recover? We've seen a very tough, that culminated last week, a very tough month. So how do we recover out of this? I mean, this is politics and it will be played everywhere. Even what you're doing, probably there's politics here. So how do we start the process of recovering? And even before you get into that, how do you see the Kenyan politics up to the 30th of June today?
Number one, as a country, we need to accept that we are struggling. The challenge we have is that there is a section of this country that believe things are good and things are okay. But there is also another big section of this country that is really crying because the struggle is real. So that disconnect is not helping, because the people who are struggling seem not to have the voice or the power to change their circumstances. Yet the people who believe that the country is doing very well are the ones who have the ability to set the right tone for this country in terms of policy, in terms of programs, in terms of the direction this country is supposed to follow, so that we can realize the expectation that was set out when this administration was elected in. So we need to bridge that gap. And one of the things we need to agree as a country is that the Kenya Kwanza administration has had so many misses. From 2023, when we had the Sufuria Maandamano, to the 2024 Gen Z Maandamano, and even now, there are so many misses. And despite making many changes in government, in terms of the CSS, in terms of some of the PSS, we have not seen any material improvement in terms of a positive direction in the government, in the economy, save for the issue of stabilizing the Kenya shilling and the forex reserves that have suggested to have increased, and probably the areas of food security where probably the weather has been in favor of us, and probably the interventions made through the fertilizer subsidy.
Yes.
But in terms of creating jobs beyond food security sector, and now what the government is really aggressively pursuing, the affordable housing, we have not seen a vibrant sector like the ICT, which is a service sector that this administration should have taken advantage of in creating many jobs. Do that. One of the areas that that led to the 2024 Maandamano was the taxation of the creative space. And the other thing that also is making that area not to grow is the lack of liquidity to support that sector. So as my colleague has said, making the business environment active is a big challenge. The crowding of the credit space by government as opposed to the private sector has made it impossible for private companies, small or big, to be able to activate the economy. If you recall, after the 2007 post-election violence period, there was what was called a stimulus economic package, the EPS, and it was able to stimulate the economy. We have not seen the Hustler Fund nor the affordable housing program stimulate the economy, meaning those programs are not producing the results that they were intended for.
Were they missed targets, or the programming and the planning was?
The idea is good, but the environment in which it is being implemented is wrong, because we have over 1 million young people being produced every year. And you're creating 100,000 jobs in construction sector. Where are you taking the other 900,000 jobs? And you are looking at 10 million young people. Over the last 10 years, we've not been able to create meaningful jobs for these young people. So we have a huge population of young people out there who have the energy and drive to be able to deliver on themselves, but they are not giving the environment. If you look at the people who came from the Maandamano in 2004, they were, as Ishongwa said, they came with Uber, they had KFC, they had water, they had smartphones. So these are not human beings who are looking to be employed or such. They are people who are looking for an environment where they can create their own jobs. They can be able to pursue their interest. They are people who are able to have a kickstart. We are not like us, where we were prepared that if you leave university, you must be employed by government. These are young people who are creatively pursuing their own interests and being able to generate their income. All they want is a space to be able to do that. So there are many areas these kids can be able to create a livelihood for themselves. All they need is that an environment. And that's where the government has failed, because it does not listen.
I was in some function 2 weeks ago, and some of the Gen Z said that 8 to 5 is not their thing.
Yes.
8 to 5 is not their thing. Sitting behind the computers at the desk and you're doing a report at the end of
They don't do that.
That's it's not up to them. I mean, but Ronald, let's come back to this. We're talking about, what I'm talking about is polycrisis. Politics and crisis. Help us, and Crispus, you'll also help us join the three. Siasa, losses and recovery. How do you join this? Now this is polycrisis.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, siasa, losses and recovery. I think what I think is the biggest problem, especially just adding from what he has said in this country, is not what the government is doing, is going to do, or has done. It is how the government is behaving, communicating, and acting. Meaning, there is a big conflict between politics and leadership. The biggest tragedy in this country, we have dwelt in politics and forgotten about leadership. And that's why there is a crisis. Because politics is behavioral. If I look at, even when people talk about the best leadership in this country, they talk about Kibaki. But you see, if you look at the Ruto government, the Uhuru and Ruto, you will be told they did the longest road network ever since post-independence. You will be told, if you look at it, the electricity connection was at the highest ever since post-independence, and even water and all that. But you see, the reason why Kibaki is remembered is not because of the roads he constructed.
Yes.
It's because of how he behaved, acted, and communicated. Behavioral. So what is needed in this country, and the reason why there is consistent demonstrations and people feel a lot of discontentment, is even though we are promised so much by the government, we don't see behavior aligning with that. And one of the things that we talk about when you talk about behavior is, like, for instance, post-demonstrations, the parliamentarians are it to increase the CDF and to make sure it is aligned in the constitution.
Yes.
And then two, also, even you look at the budget, the talk has been increasing maybe renovations for the State House. And then three, you looked at even how the demos were handled. There's a lot of force, and you'll be told there were goons put into that. So the biggest challenge is how the government has acted, how it has communicated, and how they have behaved. And that is what is slowing down post-losses recovery.
Yes.
One of the things that the demos did in this country is to try to affect the investment climate.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the CBD, you're wondering, do I go and get an office in the CBD? If you're an international investor, you're wondering, do I proceed my trip to Kenya to do an investment?
And there's a very big, I mean, there's a conflict in the brains of business owners because, yes, there is devolution. But some people say that Nairobi is better placed to run a business than going to a particular, maybe county X or Y because of cash flow and all that. So now there's a conflict. Do I stay in the CBD in Nairobi or move to county X? So how do we balance that so that at the end of the day there's no losses, the economy is running, and you're also doing a business?
So that is the biggest problem, because what the politicians and government need to do is to change to leadership. Look at Nairobi, and even the way it is disorganized. Today, you drive along the highways, there's a lot of garbage, a lot of confusion, dirt everywhere. The roads are bushy. Of course, now there is kazi kwa vijana trying to slash, but I'm wondering, does the county have to wait for kazi kwa vijana to slash the roads and try to do some nice organizations for Nairobi, especially if you compare with some other capital cities in the world? So you realize that there needs to be now trying to align and promote Nairobi as an investment destination. And this issue of maandamano needs to be dealt with, not combatively. But government need to understand what are people saying when they are going for demos. It's a matter of how have we communicated, how are we acting? Are we acting in sincerity? You know, politics is about being cunning, being able to try to mobilize people to vote for you. It's about outsmarting your competitor. But leadership is about sincerity and being sincere and communicating with people, dialoguing with people, and showing strategic direction, and being trusted even in your behavior and actions that you mean the best for them. So we need to transition from politics to epitomizing politics to epitomizing leadership. So that people can buy in. Because leadership is influence. What we lack from the government, and if the government can be able to exercise influence, it will easily neutralize any critics. There will be no demos. You will call for demos. People are content at heart. Even if, because you look at, even if people are being, I'm wondering whether there's anybody who can manage to fund those people. The only thing is you need to actually get hold of the demonstrators and ask them, what is the big problem? You realize the problem is lack of trust.
Asking is one thing, and implementing the problem is another thing. Let's welcome, Francis Kavyu, who is a minority leader at the County Assembly of Machakos County. Are you sincere? He's talked about sincerity in politics. Are you a sincere politician? Or you're a leader?
I'm more of a leader. And I agree with our brother what he's saying.
Right. First of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Karibu.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with him because leadership is all that is needed because, yes, to some extent, there might be some people who are influencing the activities that we have seen recently.
Yes.
But it will also send, we should also take it as a wake-up call because if you see the number of people who are coming out on the street, there are too many to be funded or influenced by somebody. It's only that it shows that the discontent has been there.
Yeah.
And people have only been waiting for the small trigger so that they can join the caravan. But what we need is the government to listen to people and resonate with them and address the real problems that are making people to be discontented. But how you communicate also matters, because if there is that heat, and what we see is very senior government officials showing no remorse for what has happened, because people died, properties have been damaged, and the kind of tone that we are seeing from some of the senior government officials, it doesn't show the concern, the need to bridge that gap. So as leaders, I think there is that need, and leadership has evolved. It's high time that we need to listen to people and also resonate with the real issues that are affecting them. Business-wise, what has been happening, it's not good for the economy, because peace and political stability are key ingredients for investors. Those are some of the things people look at before putting my money somewhere. Is the political temperature correct? Is the environment right for my business to thrive? And some of the things that we have seen in the recent case, when we have those picketing and demonstrations, which are guaranteed by the Constitution. But I think also as Kenyans, as we move out there, we also need to understand, as Francis, I have that right to demonstrate. I have that right to express myself. But it ends where I start interfering with Victor's right, constitutional rights that are granted. So we can demonstrate, we can express ourselves without having to interfere with other people. Because if you want to express yourself, if you saw what the opposition leaders did that morning before things went highway, they walked to the parliament, they laid the flowers, and as per the communication that had been given, it was supposed to be a memorial for the young people who lost their life. So the confusion comes in, at what point did it turn to a point where somebody who was running business, somebody woke up with a very good business, but in just a few hours, things turn and you are poor. You don't have, the business is no longer there. So, and these businesses, like the supermarkets that are being banned, it is the same Gen Z. Most of them, you'll not find people who are very old working in those supermarkets. So at the same times, we are saying that we are being neglected, we don't have jobs, but we are busy destroying the same jobs, that the same investments that are supposed to provide those jobs. So we need to exercise our constitutional rights of expressing ourselves, but we must also do it within the confines of the law to ensure that we don't harm the other people who are going on with their activities.
I care about the three of you, because I know you woke up so early, and I don't want to harm your lives. So I want to serve you tea.
Thank you.
Are you happy now? That means we need to take a break. We'll be right back with more. I want to talk about the situation in the country, and of course what you can see is just surging forward. Of course, the president also talked about we need to have that environment so conducive even for the investors to come and tourism to flourish. Let's talk about that and much more when we come back. Stay with us.
Unakonga mrembo man.
We.
Unasema hivyo ndio nikupatie chapati, si ndio?
Kata carpet mzuri ya watu wenye wanakula.
Nitakutandika kikombe ya supu wento ukiwaka moto.
Kule bangaishe. Kumando is mad.
Sasa hii ni nini? Nilisaidia chirani jangu.
Na hapa hata kujabadilika.
Nielezee kilichokuleta hapa nielewe. Nimechoka.
Yeah, you bwana. Don't bring me your frustrations, mimi nani. Nani comment kuna frustration? That's the reason why unavalia watu buibui. Hii ni gown. Makbada.
Kwani ni nini inaendelea hapa?
Hapa niko kuhesabu siafu alafu nizioshe.
Nenda kuambia mganga umechukua kazi.
Check wewe.
Ala. Ngoja wacha kuingilia hapo.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Welcome back. So all of us are taken care of. It's a breakfast show. All right, welcome back. So, Engineer Crispus, we are here, and let's talk about, first of all, the tourism, before we get to the microeconomics and SMEs in the country. But the tourism industry is one of the worst affected when it comes to the Mandamano and the crisis that we are facing. Sometimes it might not even about Mandamano what we are seeing, but if the political temperatures or the political environment is not stable, the tourism industry, of course, will get a beating.
You know, it's quite unfortunate that the Gen Z's demonstrations are happening at the high season of tourism.
We are approaching, yes, actually we are here.
So the way the government should have approached this demonstration, which they knew was going to happen, was to really manage in terms of making sure that the peaceful demonstrators are given the opportunity to come and make their voice and protect them from the so-called goons. But when we saw, I think 3 weeks ago, when there was demonstration because of Albert, the police being associated with goons, and then definitely that sent a very long message, not just to us as Kenyans, but also to tourists who want to be in this country. Because we saw people being robbed in broad daylight by people who are very close to the police. And when it now came to the demonstrations last Wednesday, it was very clear that the goons have an upper hand in terms of how they're going to conduct their business. And even in future protests, which may come maybe in this July or August, we don't have that comfort that they'll be peaceful, they'll have safety. And there's now the tone of the government, the way they have come out saying, oh, it was a coup, it was financed by people. And clearly you can see it's a government which is responding in the wrong way. So the biggest challenge we have with this administration is the way they're responding to issues. You can see very well people are agitated. And you question ourselves, how do we gather the intelligence as a country? How do we know what's happening on the ground? Because you cannot tell me that they did not foresee that this call for Mandamano, June 25th, was not going to have the turnout it had. There was a cry, there was a high expectation that people wanted to make the government know that they are not happy. And therefore, to sit there believing that this issue will not, this Mandamanos will not have the turnout it had, was the government lying to itself. So we need to first accept that as a country, there is a disconnect between the leadership and the people. And as we are all agreeing here, that disconnect can only be solved if we sit down and we talk to each other. We listen to each other. And there's a whole opportunity that this government had over 1 year to talk to people and listen to them and implement what these people have in terms of solutions.
Yeah.
Because it's not that we lack solutions. It's just that the solutions have not been given an opportunity to be heard and to be explored.
The only common denominator here is that everybody's looking for a source of income.
Definitely.
That is what's happening. When we talk to these Gen Zs, the only thing they need is we need jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see, the ones with power, for them it's not about jobs. It's holding on to power that they are more interested of than creating jobs for the masses who give them power. They need to realize that the constitution we have today is not the one we had in 1992, when most of them joined politics. The constitution we have today gives sovereign power to the people. And these young people are the biggest beneficiary of that constitution. So they must exercise that power. And you cannot deny it to them.
Can we balance that scale, Ronald? Because now it seems that the scale has, I don't know whether it's going to the side of the government or it's going to the side of Wanjiku. So how do we balance the scale?
First, let me talk about tourism.
Go ahead. Yes.
One of the low-hanging fruits in this country is tourism. Actually, if government wanted to exceed their budgets and create enormous employment, the low-hanging fruit is tourism. Because if you look at it in Africa, Kenya is one of the best tourism destinations on the continent in terms of tourism features. People visiting, and because you visited a number of countries regionally and globally, Kenya ranks as a very good best tourism resources destination in terms of resources, tourism resources. But then being affected by Ramadan is a very unfortunate. But again, most people, when you talk about tourism, we're only looking at visitors coming to see our wildlife, our heritage, maybe at the coast for the beaches and all that. But there's so much tourism.
There's even an economic economic tourism. We have got exchange program students coming from different countries to the country here.
And if you look at exchange programs, if you look at most universities, it's very difficult to get foreigner students coming to this country for even education. Because if you look at as a country, we have so many educational institutions. We have a lot of infrastructure that is very idle, that is underutilized. So if you allow for foreigner students to come in, then there will be a lot of opportunity to create employment opportunities in the universities and get more professors and teachers recruited in those universities and support team. And then the other area of tourism that also we've not leveraged on is medical tourism. Because if you look at regionally, there isn't good hospitals around. So therefore, it's a very good opportunity for as a country to invest in world-class medical infrastructure that will be able then to attract even people coming here for treatment. And then the other area is sports tourism. Our neighbors are doing a great, talking about the African Cup of Nations in 2027. What is the government doing to make sure that they are able to host some of these tournaments in Africa, in Kenya, and host them very competitive? Then you will create a lot of money through sports tourism, through rallies. Rally is another, which is quite underutilized. So sports tourism is another area that we could easily capitalize on. So there is so much other low-hanging fruits the government could utilize to create enormous employment. Because even if you talk about affordable housing, it is so limited. Because for how long are we going to be in a construction zone and all that? And even how much sustainable jobs and all that? And even how much are we manufacturing locally? And all that. So in terms of the construction materials. So I believe that tourism is a very good thing. Then to the next question, maybe you can just repeat that. You're saying that how the government and the citizens.
Yes. Because when you look at the whole scenario.
You
look at the gap between the citizen. He talked about trust deficit. All right? The gap between the leadership and Wanjiku. So how do we bridge this gap? Because at the end of the day, that chain must be complete.
Okay, because one of the things is citizens will never change. Government cannot expect that people will just wake up one day and they become good citizens. It is the responsibility of the government to change. Leadership is what changes. Citizens are constant. They actually behave based on how leadership directs them. Because they are saying the best leadership style is a behavioral change style. That's the most effective for leaders. So it's the way I said from my earlier conversation, it is the responsibility of the leaders to change in terms of their actions, their words, and their behaviors. Because if you can change, you can even tell people some very good things, but they look at your actions how do you act and behave?
Yeah.
How have you allocated this particular budget? Have you minded them? They look at what you say. Are you saying it from the bottom of your heart? So, you know, from the time, if you look at the Kenyan citizens, the way they behave, it's not different from any other country. The only different thing is how are we being led. If you look at how people were, even from the Kibaki's place to Uru's place to now, people have not changed, even though we say Gen Zs. Of course, there are so many people who are discontent, who are not Gen Zs. The only thing, Gen Zs have the boldness to go to the streets.
Yes.
But the other people who are so at home, but quite discontent with the government.
Is there a way the government is advertising Kenya out there? Because at some point when there was Tourism Expo, there was one of the facilitators who said that Kenya does not advertise her country pretty fine. When you go to these international airports across the world, you will not see Kenya advertising herself at the airports.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But when you go to a certain country, you'll see visit this, visit that, visit there, but you'll never see visit Kenya, this and that. We don't support our own.
The problem we have as a country is that in terms of investing in terms of our international diplomacy, both economic and tourism, we have not invested. For example, if you go to the embassies, the people at the embassies are cronies of politicians. They are not people who understand that if I am posted in Kampala, for example, as an ambassador or part of the diplomatic corps, my duty is to promote my country.
You're an ambassador.
Most of those people there just go there to earn a salary. If you go to London, if you go to Washington, if you go to LA, the consulate there, and now the new emerging markets in Asia and the Middle East, the kind of character of people who have been placed there, they have no understanding or expertise to be able to market our country. We assume that as long as Faith Kiplegon is running and Eliud Kipchoge is running, we are being marketed as a country. And we see Kenya Airways flying, that is enough. No, that is not enough. The very thing that we have not even exploited is our young people right now. If you go to Twitter today, most of the Twitter conversations when it comes to Kenya, if Nigeria is there or Uganda is there, they respect the Kenyan people. We have not taken advantage of our own young people to market as a country, both beyond this space of Kenya and in the region and other parts of the world. So as a country, we must make deliberate interventions. Put money where it's supposed to be able to make investments. Dubai put money where it's supposed to be, and you can see the returns it has. Today, Kenya is projecting 2.5 million visitors, 3 million by the end of 2026, 2027. But how are we going to achieve that if every 6 months there's maandamano? You must first cure the problem that discourages people from coming. You must find a way that people find it very attractive to plan for their visit to this country. Today, whoever was planning to visit Middle East or Israel, they have cancelled because of the war that is there. And the one's alternative was to come to Kenya. They have cancelled because of maandamano. So they'll go to Tanzania, they'll go to Rwanda, they'll go to Uganda, they'll go to South Africa. Are you understanding me? We are not being deliberate in terms of the interventions we make as a country. We are busy politicking. Politicking is not going to help us.
It's about money and leadership. Francis, you know, when it's come to formulate some of these policies that we put, even as leaders, some of the policies that you debate, some of the bills that you put across in the county assemblies, the National Assembly, Senate, and etc., some of these bills and proposals have a far-reaching effect in the economy. But do you think Wanjiku is very much aware of these policies?
I think one of the biggest challenge that we have in as a nation is lack of awareness. And as Kenyans, we might complain, we might talk about the leadership of the day is not doing much, but it gets to a point that we need to ask ourselves as citizens, what are we doing to make it better? Because Kenya, in terms of the internet or the social space, we are very much advanced. Today, something that is happening in Kenya, it's much easier for it to go out and get the global audience compared to other African space. So that's an avenue that we can exploit to achieve what Chris is saying in terms of advertising. So airports can help boost that. But also as Kenyans, every day when I'm out there, what am I doing to make that sure that people know what Kenya is? And also county governments, they have been granted that autonomy. They have the budget. So look at a county like Isiolo. It's a county that has a very huge tourism potential, but that has not been exploited. You go to Marsabit, the Chalbi deserts, they are like Dubai. They have very nice sand dunes. You go to, is it Malindi in Kilifi County? There are so many beautiful sceneries that people can visit, but because of the communication is not going there, the counties are not doing enough to boost that ecotourism sector. You find that most people, even locally, leave alone even the people who are coming outside, there is a lot that is in Nakuru, there is a lot in Marsabit that locally people can explore, but that potential has not been unlocked. So it's the responsibility of both the county and the national government to put in place some mechanism to make sure that that awareness is there.
What are these mechanisms? You know, this is what somebody like me, I'm so much interested to get some of these, mechanism to be put in place, because I want to visit my country. I want to travel. I want to support county X or Y. But what are some of these mechanisms that should be put in place?
One of it is, in terms of infrastructure, because if I'm moving from Machakos, I want to go all the way to Isiolo, I need to be guaranteed that the road network is good enough. Also in terms of security, plays a very critical, it's one of the critical factors. Then also the awareness bit. You see, Dubai was once a little unknown country, but once they realize that they have a hidden gem that can help them boost their economy, and they got also the understanding that at some point maybe oil will not be a factor, so they had to look for alternative. So it's the same thing that we need to do as a country. If it is, for instance, Machakos County, they need to understand what is that huge potential that can help put them on the spotlight. Then the county comes up with policies that will help grow that particular sector. If you go to Nakuru, you find there is something unique. If you go to Kisumu, look at what is happening in Homa Bay. Very soon, everybody will want to go there because the publicity, the awareness that is being created by the county government of Homa Bay will create that curiosity. And people will want to go and experience what is happening there. Look at the infrastructure that is coming up. That will make people move faster, and it will provide that unique experience. So I don't want to go to a place, then I'm stuck trying to access the places that I want to view for hours. So that infrastructure network, but also, as I said, as we are agitating for our constitutional rights, it also needs to, it also calls for patriotism as people, because most people want to blame the government, but as citizens we also have a role that we need to play, because after the June 25th protests that happened last year, the government came up with the Nyota project, but you find at the grassroots, for instance, like in my ward, I've tried to sensitize the young people that there is a program. I think they are calling it National Youth Opportunity Towards Advancement. It is looking at how it can boost income generation. It's also creating opportunity for young people between the age of 18 to around 29 years of age. So it's an opportunity that young people who have ideas can take advantage of. They also came up with is it being called Kazi Maju? This weekend, despite people saying that it's not working, I think on today's on Monday, Thursday, I think there is a team of around 100 young people who jetted out of the country to Russia, and they have reported to work. So the biggest problem
from which ward? Your ward?
No, nationally, under the Ministry of Labor, under the Kazi Maju program. Some of them, I have two from Kadhiani, who I know personally, who were part of the program. And they're in Moscow. They were received on Friday morning by the ambassador, Peter Mathuki. So those opportunities are there. But we have allowed as a country, propaganda is what is taken, and people. And what the opposition is trying to do, they are looking for opportunity also to lead this country. So it's a case of trying to distract who is there. And if the government is not careful, we'll get to 2027, and these same people who are causing distraction, they'll be on top of their cars saying this government did not deliver to the people. So despite us trying to express ourselves, we also need to be conscious of the people who are trying to use the maandamano agenda to propel themselves. Because you listen to the opposition side, most of the time, even the people who want to take over after from me, from 2027, in Kinani Madatani ward, they'll try to put a narrative that Francis is not doing enough. And when you do the good things, they'll never tell people. So it becomes my responsibility,
that is human nature.
My responsibility to go out there and give fact and tell people this is what is happening. So my challenge to my fellow young people
and you think that is what the national government should do?
That is what should be happening.
Clean the mess.
Yes.
Okay.
So as I finish, so as young people, we also need to look out for the opportunity, because even if we demonstrate on daily basis, that is not going to solve the issue of unemployment. Because we are destroying the peace that needs to help the economy turn around, so that if it is Chris, if it's Victor, that peace is important. That is what will motivate me to want to invest my shilling. The government also needs to look at the tax policies. They need to review, because for the last 1 year, most people are shifting to Tanzania. So we need to ask ourselves, as leaders of this nation, as Kenyans, we need to ask ourselves, why are people preferring our neighbors as opposed to Kenya, which is the larger economy within the East Africa community?
When we talk about economy, I think now we'll start talking about some good words there. But then let's talk about the issue here. Ronald, the economy itself is very fragile. Well, we have a very stable economy, but we have got, the consistent kind of mandamano, which is unpredictable. Somebody said, we had a joke here sometimes that Kenya, you can disappear for 2 days and you come back, it's a different world altogether. Syllabus inakimbia mbio sana. But we have to make things quite predictable, all right? Even for the investors. It's not about international investors, even the local investors. Let's talk about the issue of losses and recovery. I remember the other day when we had the climate summit here, the international community were talking about losses, damages, and recovery. Losses are damages. And they wanted compensation, which is very expensive. But who is taking care of that gentleman, that lady in the streets of Nairobi, who closed her shop or his shop in the streets, went home, and the next morning there was nothing, literally nothing. So who takes care of this? Let me start from, who takes care of this?
Yeah, thank you. I think currently it is the wearer of the shoes.
The wearer of the shoes.
Who knows where it? So, the small businesses in this country cannot afford insurance premiums, because insurance premiums are quite high. And even with the increased demonstrations, no insurance company will want to underwrite the issue of demos, because the risk is certain. Like now, if you're in Nairobi, the risk is very certain. There will be demos and demos, unless the government tries to put in mechanisms to stop that, and to even ring fence the CBD from those kind of demonstrations, to assure that there will be no demos.
Yeah.
So that is the thing. And you see the issue, we've said that they are trying to do that, but in a very strong worded statement. That will not work. You have to try to ensure that you manage people's feelings so that there is no more demos in town. So currently the biggest people suffering are the small businesses, are the businesses who have invested in the CBD, who are taking, and on top of that, they're supposed to file their tax returns and pay their taxes, dues, and all that. And you see, the reason why people pay taxes is to get security for their businesses. In fact, I was saying, if the leadership of the county, they must even promise people, one, if your business will be vandalized, we will compensate you. That assurance will give people, the confidence to come and invest in town. And in fact, they should say, if you are mugged...
The CS said there is no budget for compensation.
Yeah, but this is the problem. You see, then, where is it that the taxes are not able to afford them the security they require? Because they pay taxes. These taxes, because people cannot now start having private armed security.
Yes.
Because are they going to afford that? So the taxes are supposed to cater for securing your own business. In fact, I would say if you're the governor of Nairobi, you should even promise, if somebody is mugged in the city, you will pay them, be it day or night. That confidence will be very, very important. You know, when I drive around Nairobi, you will see there are people who have put up in incredible investments in this country, in hotels. And just outside their hotel, there is a lot of garbage. There is almost matatu parking because matatus have nowhere to park. There is all kind of mess happening just at the doorstep of some of the 5-star hotels in Nairobi.
That is not in Nakuru.
Yeah,
that's not in Nakuru.
Some of the 5-star hotels in Nairobi.
Nakuru is organized.
So you see, we are not assuring these people security. We are not assuring them of cleanliness and orderliness. And we are not even organizing the matatus nicely to give them some parking lots and all that. And some of the best places that we used to visit a long time ago was Westlands. Today almost it's in chaos. It's almost like becoming a slum. Some parts of this country were so beautiful. Today they are almost turning out to be slums. And because of maybe the government's non-involvement in those issues. So you see, we need to start addressing the software. Let me tell you another missed opportunity in this country is, when it comes to tourism, is conference tourism.
Oh, yeah.
A very big missed opportunity in this country. Conference tourism.
Well, the government has been trying for quite some time.
No, you cannot try without positioning. One of the things we have, like KICC, should be the one offering conference.
The CEO has been...
Because KICC is the one that has the largest...
CEO is out to market KICC.
Yeah, but you see, there is no accommodation. If you go to our competitors' countries, they've put up a very world-class facility for international conference tourism. I participated in some meetings in some of the neighboring countries, some very big meetings with more than 4,000, 5,000 people, and the country bidded for that. But you see, in Kenya, we have no courage to bid for that because you see, you cannot have people sleeping there. You don't have a place that can have more than 4,000 people with accommodation readily available, with the security in town, with a clean city. This is a very big missed opportunity. And now if you look at South Africa and Rwanda, they are marketing aggressively for conference tourism. But us, we are not, because we have the infrastructure, the facility. If you go to KCC, does it stand out as an international conference center that will be able to bid for some of the global events? So the thing is, when it comes to tourism and the first thing we need to do is positioning the country, whereby we put up the necessary infrastructure, the security, anything that is required. Then now marketing. The other area that we need to market is Kenya Airways. I had the chairman of Kenya Airways give very useful insights. Kenya Airways need to be converted from a business to a strategic national resource. Because you see, when Kenya Airways parks in New York, it's a statement. When it parks in some of it's not in Las Vegas. Kenya Airways is not, it doesn't go to other cities in the US, a lot of them, globally. Again, Kenya Airways sometimes demarkets the country because, because of the lateness, in flights, delays, demarketing. Meaning, can we try to change that by just trying to put some of our budget whereby we're able to transform it as a strategic national resource and now market Kenya as a travel destination supported by a very efficient and effective airline.
Let's take a break. I'm just thinking, what if You know, Kenyans are very active on social media.
Yeah.
What if we just had a hashtag, Visit Kenya? Hashtag Visit Kenya. Just that. Whichever place you want, visit Kitui, visit Kathiani, visit Nairobi, visit Kenya. I'm just imagining, because we are very active on social media. And the government, again, also to work on the taxes, and even the park waiver or something. Nakuru is very vibrant.
We'll do that.
Yes.
19 nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament is pooled in Angola, DR Congo, and Zambia.
From the set piece, the header is on target, but it's saved.
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game and an exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Hello, fabulous ladies. Welcome to the talk show that's all about sisterhood, empowerment, and unfiltered conversation. We will be focusing on women.
We believe in women.
We are really creating a safe space for women to connect, thrive, and share.
Just because you're a woman on a bike, you're labeled in a certain way.
It's not just a talk show, it's a movement.
When they are standing, we need to stand out.
From heartwarming tales to hilarious adventures.
They could ask me, Catherine, why are you learning?
We are turning the spotlight on women who are breaking barriers in their individual fields.
You have to have a vision.
You are the leaders of Kenya today.
Keeping it honest and relatable.
Mental health is real.
Yes.
Where there is no communication, there is no relationship.
Join the sisterhood on KBC TV for Dada's show.
I'm back. Okay, so surging forward, so where do we move forward from here? It seems that the damage is already done, but how do we move forward? How do we find our footing and stability as a country?
So first and foremost, we need to allow for healing and reconciliation.
Good.
Because as a country, we have a lot of injustice that has happened over the last 1 year. And reconciliation is very important as a nation between the young and those in power. And then we also need to give room, an environment where the wounds can be able to heal. And one of the areas we need to do is create an environment where these young people can be able to do what they have been calling out for, an opportunity to create a livelihood. And yes, government is doing a lot in terms of creating those opportunities. But as our Mheshimiwa said, they're not being heard. So we need to go more into creating that awareness.
Deliberately.
Yeah. And beyond creating the awareness, removing elements of of buyers, because you may find this program is coming, but it looks like it's for the area MP, it's for the area MCA. Me, from where I come from, I don't have the advantage to be able to take such an opportunity. So we need to make sure that there is equality and equitable distribution of these opportunities. And number 3, we need to go back to the issue of creating credit availability in the country. 80% of the jobs that are available or should be created in this country are small businesses and micro businesses. And if those people cannot be able to access affordable credit, there is no way we are going to be able to create jobs. I remember when Kibaki came into power, people thought that, oh, he will go and start giving handouts. The same we are seeing right now with the economic empowerment. But for him, he said, no, money will find you where you are. And his program was to ensure that the banks, the private banks, are able to give affordable credit to every single Kenyan. So we need to make it very easy for Kenyans to be able to access credit. So if there are any bottlenecks that are there that are making it impossible for people to access credit, let us remove them. Let us give a pause. For example, if the issue of CRB is giving people a challenge, let us give it a pause. If the issue of government borrowing too much in the banks, let's give it a pause so that we can rejuvenate the Kenyan economy. We can give it a kickstart. Tomorrow we are starting a new financial year. Why don't we start that financial year by re-injecting some funding into the economy so that the projections we made in terms of collection as a country, we can at least even achieve 99% of them or even go higher through the interventions that we are going to make. And the last thing we need to do is that the behavior of government is very important. Yesterday I was watching a documentary from Singapore, and this guy was trying to project the documentary author was projecting that Singapore is a draconian leadership. But the ordinary citizen said, look, yes, we have limited laws, we have limited freedoms in this country, but the government is good to us. So the only thing we can do is be good to our government. Can the Kenyan government be good to its people? That's all we're asking for. And the Kenyan people will be good to it.
That's a very big question.
Are we good to our people as administration? And the Kenyans will give goodwill. Where you give
Can you answer that question? Now that you raised it, can you answer it?
I personally, where I stand, I don't feel our Kenyan administration is good to its people. We promise one thing, we deliver differently. We say that the economy is doing very well, but it's doing badly. You say, I'm giving you empowerment program, but in reality, I'm trying to get votes. Well, those votes are not what we need right now. What we need is livelihoods.
What about people to the government?
And the government, the people need to be good to its government if it's good to them. Has the government been good to people? William Ruto was elected by 7.1 million people. Raila had 6.9 million people. 8 million Kenyans never voted. So in terms of the popularity vote, he never had it. But there was no maandamano when he won. People gave him goodwill. They believed in him. 1 year down the line, there were already sufuria maandamano. 2 years down the line, there was another maandamano. So has he been good to the people? Has the administration been good to the people? That is a question we need to ask ourselves.
We have got economic recovery strategies. Ronald, does the government have, deliberate economic recovery strategies put in place? Okay, from your point of view, what we can point to, point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to stabilize the ship.
So one is the government has an economic recovery strategy, but it's not disruptive. It's just ordinary things. We've not seen really disruptive economic recovery strategy. It's ordinary things, and of course the biggest tragedy is trying to play politics with the economic recovery strategy in terms of allocation resources. And number 2, what I can say is that the government is doing a lot also. I see when I visit a lot of government forums, there's so much going on for SMEs, for health and all that. And the government, especially when it comes to food productivity, stabilizing the currency, they're seemingly doing a lot. The missing link in this government is creating an environment of trust. Because if you say you're doing affordable housing, the biggest question we have, how much money did you collect? How have you utilized the amount, and how much is remaining?
Yeah.
And has it been audited and got a clean opinion? If you're talking about the social health issue, it's just not about it working for the people. How much money was collected, how has it been utilized, and what is remaining? That issue of accountability and creating public trust is the biggest deficit for this particular government. In fact, for me, what I think is that even in the next election, this government would, you see what I can see, they're trying to fast track, they're trying to catch up with so many projects. I don't think they will be judged by what they have done. They will be judged by how much they have made people feel. Because you see, you know, like when you look at, for most people, the SHA and the increased rates for NSSF and the increased rates for housing levy looks like you've just robbed the money. And then the stories we hear in the media and the opposition is this money has been misappropriated. Now we don't know. The government has not come up clean to try to say, no, the money for housing levy, this is how it has been attributed. The money for SHA, this has been, and because in some of the countries, there is always that public accountability whereby government publishes reports on how they have utilized government resources. That will help them to win public trust. Because you see, in this era and age, to try to think that you will just talk people out of certain things, it's very difficult. There must be a demonstration of sincere goodwill and accountability and transparency to restore the necessary trust they are required so that they can move on. So what I think that the government, I know it's going to invest a lot of money, a lot of resources to try to win back the confidence of people. I think that will be wasteful if they don't restore public trust. The biggest investment the government needs to do and the biggest expense in trying to solve the current issues is restoring public trust through accountability on the little they have received. Because you see, even if you hear the story of the Auditor General, you hear the Controller of Budget, it's actually very, very stressful because you realize how much you have contributed, your pay slips has been deducted, but you are not convinced that this has been utilized in the best way. That is what is creating the public, the anarchy that we are seeing here, and that is what is rising to the demonstration and all that. There isn't the feeling of that what I gave you, you used it very well. And that's why we are saying that we need to put politics aside and now start exercising leadership, at least for the next 2 years. And then now we can pick it up on politics if that is what make us go back to the office. But it will be very easy.
It will be, I mean, when you look at it, Francis, to stabilize the ship, it requires a lot. From Wanjiku's side and from the leadership side. But the aspect here, he talked about the trust deficit. So the government would really want to do the best to stabilize the ship and to stabilize the economy. Wanjiku must also pay taxes, you know, for everything to work. But when there is the issue of trust deficit, then it means these two people are not going to have some common ground to operate, all right? So the question is then, who is going to tell Wanjiku what to do? We're just having a conversation just before we went on in the morning, that police officers are trained for close to a year on how to deal with Mwananchi. That is their course. But who trains and teaches Wanjiku on how to deal with police officers? Nobody.
I think our main challenge as a country is not more of economical. It is not more of governance, but it's more of a behavioral challenge and gap, because as citizens, as leaders, before even we start pointing fingers at the people who are at the helm leading, we need to ask ourselves as citizens, are we responsible enough? Do we have that integrity? Because if we have leaders who are not do not fit the bill, it means also as citizens of the country, we are also failing to some extent. And most of the time we focus on what the leaders are not doing, but we don't ask ourselves, these leaders who we say who are not good enough, they are not responsive to our issues, who elected those people? It goes back to the citizen. So it is the citizen who are the problem, because when we have the opportunity to elect, to bring in government, we normally get, I don't know whether we normally suspend our thinking, and all of a sudden, once we have people in offices, that is when we experience the Damascus moment. We realize that we don't have the right people.
Yeah.
So the current leadership, from the president to the MCA where we are, is a result of the citizen. So if we feel that we don't have the right people, then a bigger percentage has been contributed by us. So if we want the police to behave in a proper manner, and sometimes people are very unfair, because look at I think it was along Thika Road, around Allsops. You saw that police, that lady who was being mobbed by people. But you find we are very skewed in addressing our issue when, although some people normally say when a dog bites a person, it's not news. But when somebody bites a dog, it becomes news. So
be fair to us. That is how we operate.
So,
in other words, no news is good.
Even
we are subjective.
Yes. So when we also want to focus, when we want to highlight issues, we must look at it at all angles. These police men and women, they are our brothers, they are parents. So if we want also them to respond to us in a better manner, we also need to extend the same to them. Because as an officer, although I don't support the sentiments of the CS Interior, but we as citizens, we also need to bring that cohesive. We have a role to play. Because if you stone somebody, if you attack somebody, the first instinct will be to defend themselves. So, and I also appreciate some Kenyans. When that police lady was being attacked, some of them came and protected the lady, and that's how they managed to save her. So, as a nation, if dialogue has to work, there must be goodwill from all the quarters, and especially the opposition leaders, because when we say that the government is not doing well and there is need for dialogue, and when the government extends the same hand for dialogue, the same people who are pushing for the same pulls back and says that we cannot dialogue with this same government. So is the government going to talk to itself? And I normally tell people, if there is somebody who should be very bitter with the current president, it is the former prime minister. But when the opportunity for dialogue was there, because he loves the nation, he wants to see Kenya proceed, Raila decided to put aside all his personal interest and came on the negotiating table. So this dialogue cannot happen on the street. This dialogue cannot happen when people are throwing stone at each other. This dialogue cannot happen when tear gas is moving everywhere. So as a nation, we must provide a conducive platform where we can engage and find the way forward, because it's a collective responsibility. The reason you find nations that prosper, look at Singapore. We always talk of at some point at independence we were at par, but we only highlight that bit. But we need to ask ourselves, what did they do different that after 60 years they are so much ahead? And one of the things that helped Singapore move forward, it is the housing agenda that is being pushed by this government. Housing infrastructure is one of the critical things that helps Singapore grow as an economy. Because when you have a better housing, the environment you live has a direct impact on your mentality. Because if you live in a shaky area, your mind sometimes tends to be confined to that.
Such ideas came from the initiation stage. Yes. During independence. Kenya is 60 years into it.
Yes. So
you can imagine trying to change some of the system right now. It's hard work.
It is. That's why I'm saying it's a collective responsibility. If Kenyans work, do everything with integrity and convert that behavior aspect, we will have good leaders, we'll have good citizens who want to collaborate. But as long as at the point of putting in place those systems, we decide to go for the highest bidder, we decide to go to the people with the sweet words, then we'll always get it wrong. And even the opposition should come out clean. If you look at, I was in the Azimio camp. If you look at our manifesto, the issue of housing was there.
You are.
He's now in.
You tell us why you.
So
are you still in Azimio?
I'm in the government now because the current governance system in Kenya, it doesn't have provision for opposition. It talks of one government. So anybody, regardless of the party that you are elected, you become part of that government. And that's why the Wanjiku will not put aside and say this particular leader, this was in Azimio, this is Kenya Kwanza. So they always demand, and that's why everybody talks of the government. You will never people talk of a certain political divide. So it's also our responsibility as leaders. After the election day, those who manage to get the opportunity, we must also learn to move away from the campaigns and see how we can come together. And
gentlemen, let me ask you this question. How much do you think was lost last week alone? Let me start with you, Francis. In terms of revenue, nationwide. I mean, just look at it.
I think on that particular day, if we start quantifying, it's more than 2 billion.
More than 2 billion?
Yes.
Yes.
In property and also in terms of cash flow that we lost. So that's a lot. If we keep losing that on daily basis, then at the end of the day, the economy will feel that.
All right. Ronald, you do your daily analysis and you get data. How much was lost last week alone?
Okay, from my personally.
From the fears.
I think it's trillions of shillings. You know why? How much is worth their life?
Oh, yeah.
Because if people's lives were lost, even why are we counting money? And even if one person lost their life, and you have many people dying in the demos,
according to
even where are we even quantifying the money? And how can you even quantify the loss that was incurred mentally, mental disruption? I'm one person who was so disturbed mentally by the demos, the mental disruptions, the fear, the problems, the stress levels that people have endured through these demos. So you cannot just quantify it from a financial perspective. There is direct and indirect. There is so much. Demos should be avoided by all means to have a stable nation, because any demonstrations is worth so much that you cannot even quantify in a financial terms. You will say 2 billion, but what about somebody who wanted to invest and is not going to invest? What about somebody who didn't leave the house to go and work? Are you quantifying that particular time? Because if you're in the house, you will not be working because you will be all glued to the TV or to the YouTube or to TikTok trying to follow what is happening.
Very good.
And how much data was lost trying to stream that and advertising space.
So this is what I want us to do, gentlemen. I'm loving this conversation, but we have to stop at some point. I'll give you 2 minutes each. On this program, there's something called How to Make Kenya Great. All right? So it's a segment. You'll look at your camera, and I'll give you 2 minutes because you are brilliant brains. Look at your camera and straight talk to Kenyans on how to make Kenya great. Who do I start with? Minority leader? When as many as that opinion say aye, the ayes have it. So Francis, we start with you. So that is your camera. How do we make Kenya great? Your 1.5 minutes begins right now.
I think my appeal to our fellow Kenyans is that one, we must love this country because we don't have an alternative country where if we destroy Kenya, where we can relocate and start life again. Kenya is our motherland, and we must find an alternative way of resolving our differences because the leadership that is there, leaders are just transitional. So we should not tear our country down just because we have a regime. And also to our opposition brothers, there is the legal way. There is a mechanism that has been set aside by our constitution on how to replace and change leadership. So what we are pushing for, yes, we want the calls for the president to go is so loud, but we need to explore the constitutional avenues that are there that paves way for any change of governance, and that cannot happen on the street. That cannot be changed by anarchy. So we must protect, we must embrace Kenya so that we make it a better place. And it's our responsibility. The president alone, the MPs alone, the senators and the MCS cannot make Kenya better for us. It is us to make it a better place where everybody will feel appreciated and needed. Thank you.
Thank you. That is where we stop it for Francis. 1.5 minutes gone. And Ronald, how do we make Kenya great? That is your camera beginning right now.
Thank you. I think making Kenya great begins from ourselves. One is to be able to listen to what the government is saying and make decisions for ourselves. One of the things that we need to know that regimes will come and go, but if we change our mindset, then Kenya will change. We need to embrace a positive attitude. We need to focus, stop the tribal abuses and alignments, but remain focused to supporting the government and working hard so that we can transform our lives. And for the government, I believe the most priority thing is to establish trust between the citizens and the government. And I know when we talk about the government, we are talking about the president, because there is no government without the president. President is the chief executive officer of this country. Therefore, he has a primary responsibility to actually spearhead this ship to the right direction. And it begins from the top to the bottom, aligning his cabinet secretaries and also communicating to parliament and transforming the institutions that will create an environment of public trust so that he can be given an environment to steer the country to the next level. And if that is done, we will all be happy. Looking from global perspective, there is no other place you go because there is turmoil, wars happening across the globe. There is no better country than where you are born and where you call home. And for us, we have a responsibility to make our home better because we don't have an alternative to our country, Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I like that. There is no another close home. Crispus, tumalize maneno. How do we make Kenya great? His camera? Camera 5. That is your camera.
Okay. For me, I believe that Kenya will not be made great because William Ruto will do one single great things alone. Kenya will be made great if William Ruto and those he has put in office will create an environment where ordinary Kenyans will be able to do great things for Kenya. It is through those great things from ordinary Kenyans that this country will lift itself up and be able to claim its position as not just a regional powerhouse, but a continental powerhouse. As a country, we have demonstrated over the last 25 years that we can come from the brinks of failure to a successful nation. We can go through the most difficult times as a country, as reflected in 2007, to be a great economy. But all we require is an environment where there is full accountability, there is social justice, there is an economic empowerment of each and every one, however small or big, that each and every Kenyan, big or small, has an equal share to contribute to our shared values as a country. One of the important shared values we have realized that our young people love this country, despite the enticing opportunity to go abroad. They have stood by this country. They are determined to fight and be in this country for the betterment of this nation. We want to be able to foster that value in this country, that every young person should believe in Kenya first. No other country should come before them. Kenya come first. So we need to be able to build on that so that this country can move forward. Thank you and God bless you.
All right. Thank you very much. Asante sana. That's where we wrap it up. Asante sana for coming.
Karibu.
All right. So, Director, just 1 minute. That your mic is on. What's the front page of this Daily Nation? Very quickly, just on the front page.
How senior schools will be categorized.
Okay.
I have the opportunity to be one of the pioneer parents of CBE.
Oh, all right.
And I'm going through this problem of determining how to choose schools. But I believe we'll be able to find a way. So,
very good.
Yes.
Ronald, what's the front page of the Star?
Households to take a soft tax punch.
Okay, yeah. That's on the front page of the Star.
Yeah.
I think I need just to break the rule. Francis, just take this. Okay, on the front page of the Standard, what do you have there?
No, thank you. As the man police shot all but dead.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go and get your favorite paper and read for yourself. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. That is Francis Kavyu, who is the Minority Leader, Machakos County Assembly, and Ronald Bossi, Group Managing Partner at the Ronald's Africa, as well as Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is a political analyst and a governance expert. Gentlemen, asante sana for coming to the show. But you are the most important person, the viewer. Thank you for being with us. Asante sana. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Unakunga mrembo man.
We. Unasema hivyo ndio nikupatie chapati, si ndio?
Kata carpet msuri ya watu wenye wanakula.
Nitakutandika kikombe ya supu wenda ukiwaka moto.
Kule bangaishe.
Kumandwe is mad.
Sasa hii ni nini?
Nilisaidia chirani jangu.
Na hapa hata kujabadilika.
Nielezee kilichokuleta hapa nielewe.
Nimechoka.
Yeah, you bwana. Don't bring me your frustrations, mimi nani.
Nani kwa mimi kuna frustration?
That's the reason why unavalia watu buibui. Hii ni gown. Makbada.
Kwani ni nini inaendelea hapa?
Hapa niko kuhesabu siafu alafu nizioshe.
Nenda kuambia mganga umechukua.
Check wewe.
Ala. Ngoja wacha kuingilia hapo.
Well, good morning. On Good Morning Kenya, we are looking at the power of a woman that is multi-pronged as we focus on matters of women at the forefront. I'm Regina Manyara, and today we are going to be shining a spotlight on a woman whose story is equal parts of heart, hustle, and healing. She's a mother, a family nurse practitioner, and a pillar in both her home and her community. I'm talking about Alice Wangoi Monywa. Welcome very much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. So now let's go back to the beginning. You know, we'd want to know what inspired you to be a nurse, and not just a nurse, but a family nurse practitioner. If there's a difference, unpack it.
Okay. So it's a very long story. So let's go back to the beginning. I was born in Kenya, and growing up, I was born in Shiga location, Othaya. Growing up, I thought I was going to be a school teacher. My dad was a school teacher, so I thought I was going to be a school teacher. I went to secondary school in Chigagaos, high school. We used to do Form 5 and 6 at the time, so I went to Griabugaos. After that, I worked a little bit, Mutihani Examinations Council, Mutihani House, in the accounting department. But I was not good in math, so I knew there was no progress there. So one day, I was just doing my work at the Examinations Council, and I had this idea, maybe I should go to America, just out of the blues. And I started looking for schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
A eureka moment. From accounts to helping people.
Yes.
So how long have you been practicing nursing?
Since 1992.
That's roughly over a decade, 3 decades actually.
Yes.
And how has been the experience thus far?
It's been wonderful. So, like I said before, I did not know I was going to be a nurse. So when I went to the US, I started working in a departmental store, and I thought I was going to do something in commerce, like business, maybe something. It never turned out like that. So I started working at the department store, and they did not pay much. So somebody suggested, if you work in the hospital, they can pay more.
So better pay.
Yeah.
Better pay. So in your 3 decades of practicing nursing, what would you say have been your key achievements?
Wow. I have been a patient myself. So that's number one. I became a nurse in 1992, like I said, and I practiced for a while in the medical surgical, like a general ward. And then I started thinking that maybe I should get a master's degree in nursing, and that's how I became a nurse practitioner, because nurse practitioners can prescribe, they can diagnose, they can do minor surgeries, and I kind of like that. I always feel like I need to improve on my game somehow. So I became a nurse practitioner in 2000, the year 2000. But when I graduated, I had this desire to work in mental health. I have no idea why, but I came to realize later that was part of my calling.
All right.
So 2001, I got a job in mental health, and I loved it as a nurse, psychiatric nurse. So I got to know all the medicines, all the diagnoses, and I became really, really good. I used to work in a state hospital. And with the state hospitals, they bring all the cases that nobody else can handle. Like the private hospitals cannot handle, so they bring it to the public hospital. The public hospital, nobody can be refused. So whoever they bring, you take them.
You have to take them.
Yes.
So then in your line of work, you know, it's not just about medicine, it's about emotions, it's about listening and loss and hope, as you've mentioned. So what has been that key moment, you know, that has stayed with you over the years?
So when I started having children, and I was also working as a nurse, sometimes, depending on what you do, working at night pays more. And there's a reason why they do that, because most people don't like to work at night. So, but when you have children and you come home during the day, you cannot sleep very well. So I ended up working like this, because my kids were going to school, and I needed to be there. If the parent is called to school, I needed to be able to go. You know, I don't have to ask my boss to go. And so after 15 years, because I did this from 2001 to 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, until my kids became teenagers, I gained a lot of weight in those, because I wasn't sleeping well, and I was stressed. So, but I did not like that, because when I went to America, I used to be just tall and skinny, and I kind of liked my old me.
Yes, yes.
So I started trying to figure out how to go back to my former weight, or at least get healthier, because I did not like the way I looked.
You didn't like the way you looked.
Yeah, so lo and behold, I decided at 2013, I decided now to use my nurse practitioner license. And prior to that, I had been trying to eat healthy, to, you know, lose this weight, because in America they tell you that the more weight you weigh, the more sicker you're going to become.
Yes.
Like weight contributes to diseases. So I was eating healthy, but I wasn't sleeping. And I did not know that not sleeping can actually cause weight gain.
Oh.
So when I was in between jobs trying to get my nurse practitioner license back on, because, you know, if you don't practice for so many years, you have to redo the exam again. You have to renew your license. So I was away from regular work for like 6 months. Funny enough, in those 6 months, I was cooking at home, exercising, relaxing. You know, I was studying, but I wasn't doing the hustle and bustle of going to work and working at night and picking up kids and all that. I lost the weight. I lost 49 pounds in 5.5 months.
Wow.
I know.
Wow, just being home and being a mom.
Yeah, just being a mom.
Wow, all right.
So with that, many people started asking me, because in America people are really overweight, and when they see you have some kind of success in that area, they will come to you.
They have to know how
did you do it?
All right.
Yeah. So now I had this idea. I started teaching people. I will bring them to my home and I'll tell them how I cook my food, how I eat it. And none of them was getting the success that I had. So I knew something was wrong, but it inspired me. I figured I should write the information of what I did in a book.
Wow.
So my book is called Do Like Grandma Did. Oh,
wow.
Eat Like Your Grandma Did. And I was thinking about my grandma in Kenya. You know, back when I was a child, we were cooking at home, eating whole foods, and we never snacked in between meals. So that's what I wrote there. And also sleeping, you know, because those...
sleeping.
Yeah.
But then how practical is it, especially for those who work a 9-to-5 job? You get into traffic, maybe you spend on average 1.5 hours in traffic.
Yeah.
By the time you're getting home, you're dealing with the kids. By the time you're settling down in the evening, to sleep, it's around either minutes to midnight or shortly after midnight. And the cycle continues for the next 5 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not sleeping, you have to prioritize sleep. Not sleeping will cause so many problems in your life.
Wow.
Yeah, I usually tell people sleep is medicine.
Prioritize sleep.
Yeah.
I don't think my boss wants to hear that, but hey, it's good advice. Prioritize sleep.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a natural thing. You don't have to pay for that. You just have to make the time. So now, when I started teaching, now I got my little book. The book was out in 2016. I started telling people, if you do this within 6 to 10 months, you should lose all the weight. Nobody was getting any success with it. So I started figuring out something is wrong with this picture. And I started saying to myself, maybe I need to write another book and tell them how important this is. But when I started writing my second book, I did not know what to tell them. I was like, I've told you everything about food. What else can I possibly say? But I hadn't realized that actually my issue was because of stress, chronic stress, and not sleeping. That's what was making me gain weight.
So mental wellness.
Yes, mental wellness.
All right.
So now I started writing my second book. And my second book, I don't have it today with me, but the title is Think and Grow Healthier. So mental wellness.
And grow healthier.
Yes.
Mental wellness.
Absolutely. So when I was writing down, out of the bruise, I had a crisis. I witnessed some kind of trauma at work, but many other things happened with that trauma that I started losing sleep. We go back to sleep again.
All right.
But now, this time is different, because I was trying to figure out, the trauma that I witnessed was like crazy. It was like a horror movie.
What happened?
And
maybe
it did not happen to me.
It happened to another
It happened to
person.
somebody else, to one of my patients actually at work.
So what happened?
So I'm not allowed to say what happened.
Yeah, you do not know who. Loss of life?
Yeah, but they did not lose life. Okay. But they injured themselves in a really bad way, that they became disabled. Wow. So I was the first medical provider to get there. And the thing that shocked me was that this person had done a lot of damage to themselves, and they were not in pain. So that...
They were numb to the pain?
To the pain, yeah. So I was trying to figure out, this
medically
is not normal.
or psychologically numb?
I don't know whether it was psychological, but the person was very calm, just sitting just like that.
And they hurt?
Badly.
Wow.
So that shocked me. Why are they in pain? And then I asked them, because I was the first one to respond there. But you did. And the person said, I don't know. And I'm like, there's no way.
There has to be a trigger.
So, yeah.
Yes, mental wellness. Yes.
Yeah. So now I'm writing a book that says, think and grow healthier. And the person has done a lot of damage here to themselves, and they don't know why they did it. I knew that was not normal. So I kind of started thinking, this is not mental illness. This is something else. But whatever this is, I cannot figure it out. So, but then I went home, and nobody talked to me about this. Nobody asked me, how you doing? You know, even my co-workers, I guess they never thought that I had been traumatized. So they never thought to ask me.
There was no debrief.
And I never thought to seek help. Because I did not know.
You're supposed to be trained to handle such cases.
Yeah. So now I'm at home. I cannot talk to anyone. My family members, I cannot tell them what happened at work. And I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm not able to sleep. Within 6 weeks, I had figured out what was going on with that. But now I'm in trouble. Because once I figured it out, I was like, oh my goodness. We are not treating mental illness properly. Now it was my turn. I became mentally ill too.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I figured it out, because I did not know how I was going to explain what I had figured out, how am I going to explain this to people? What am I going to say? Who's going to believe what I'm thinking? And now I completely lost sleep. And I went for 3 whole days without sleep.
That's 72 hours.
72 hours, yeah.
Wow.
And if anybody knows anything about sleep, if you go for 72 hours without sleep, you're looking at major problems here. So I developed what we call sleep-deprived psychosis.
Started seeing things.
I started hallucinating.
Hallucinations,
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I started hearing voices. I started hallucinating. I'm walking in the streets at night, and my kids got concerned. So they started calling family members. They called my pastor. They called the police.
Yeah, something must have...
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
My mom is not behaving right. So the police came, and they said, well, she's not doing anything wrong, because I wasn't hurting anyone. Yes, I'm not sleeping. I'm talking too much. And I'm walking in the streets at night. But I'm not hurting anyone, and I'm not walking in the middle of the street. I'm walking on the sideway. Yeah, sidewalk. But they said, if you really want us to do a mental health evaluation, you have to commit her. So I got committed to a mental health hospital. And now I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm an author at this point.
And you are you're committed.
And I'm committed to a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, that must have taken a toll on you, yes?
Yeah, so that was very traumatic. But when I got to the hospital, 5 of the patients there were my patients, and they knew me.
Wow. How did you handle that? I mean, you're the one who's giving us advice, and now we find ourselves here. We are all seeking help.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Well, for me, it was traumatic.
Yeah.
But one of my patients was very happy. And she came and sat close to me. She said, I'm so glad you're here. I was like, why are you glad?
A familiar face.
I know, a familiar face. And when she came over, the other 5 came. They want to know why I'm here. So we started talking, and now we are talking like peers. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I stayed in the hospital for 9 days. And within 2 days, I started sleeping. And once I started sleeping, I was back to normal. I came out of the hospital with another book, a third book. The third book is called Bipolar, On the Throes of the Wild Kingdom, because I felt like I was going through a wild kingdom.
True.
So I come out now, and all I had to do was type the book, the third book. But now I have personal experience with mental illness. I already knew we were doing something wrong, and now I'm ready to teach. So that's how my ministry kind of got launched.
From a personal experience, you started off with a third party, first responders, and now you became
the patient.
The patient.
Yeah.
Now you have a 360 view on why we need to speak mental wellness.
Yes.
Now this brings me back to the fact that you have a podcast that is, it's called Total, let me get that right. Total, what is it?
Health Academy.
Total Health Academy, yes. The Total Health Academy.
Yes.
It's a podcast focused on mental wellness.
Yes.
Other than it inspiring for you to just talk to people,
yes,
have you seen it meet your core objective for you to start that podcast?
Yes, it has. For me, it's very fulfilling because I don't like to see people sick, especially with mental illness. And the people that come to me with questions and they listen to what I did and what can help them, they have actually been helped.
So it has worked?
It has worked.
It has worked.
Yeah.
The problem and one of the challenges in dealing with mental wellness is that the scars, or rather the wounds, are unseen.
Yes, it's mental.
Yes, they are unseen. So actually even seeking help is a challenge.
Yeah.
What would you advise someone who's struggling with that? You know?
Okay. Yeah. So I tell people there's, what do they call stigma?
Yes.
The stigma is what prevents people from seeking help, number one. They don't want anybody to know that they have mental illness. So what my experience taught me, that mental illness can happen to anybody. Listen, I was a nurse. I had worked as a psychiatric nurse for so many years. I was a nurse practitioner at this point, and I was an author. Yeah. And this still happened to me. So there is no stigma. I said, I'm opening this kind of worms. Anybody who wants to talk about mental illness, I'm happy to talk with them. And I'm happy to tell them what I did and what, if they need any advice on what can help them, I can actually do that.
All right.
So no more stigma on mental illness. Let's talk about it. Let's not be shy. So personally, I love telling my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've opened Pandora's box when you talk about stigma.
Yeah.
Looking at the status report of mental wellness in this country,
yeah,
we had a whole task force set up in Kenya to just talk about matters of mental health. It is a problem and a growing concern, especially among the youth and middle-aged persons.
Yeah.
From where you sit, having the experience that you have, what advice would you give? What are the telltale signs first? And how would you advise a person who already finds themselves, they're not on clinical psychosis yet, but they feel they are not okay?
Yeah.
How do they go about it? What do they look for first?
Okay, so look for the signs and symptoms. And if you notice that something is not working out, that you don't feel okay, say you're anxious, you're losing sleep like I was, I would not have thought to seek mental health help, going through what I was going. But at the back of my mind, I actually knew what the problem was. The only thing I did not know was the language. I did not have a language. But I would advise people to seek help. Find a counselor, someone to talk with. Now, this is not going to cure mental illness, but it will have an outlet. Maybe you don't want to tell the whole world, but you can tell somebody who is trusted, who can keep your personal business private. And talking about it is actually helpful. Yeah, it brings whatever is hidden to the surface. And you can also get a few pointers, something you can do. But my situation was not the doctor diagnosed me with bipolar. And so my second book is called, my third book is called Bipolar, on the Throes of the Wild Kingdom. And with that book, my story runs through. Now, because my story was pretty bad, I was having panic attacks, I'm hallucinating, I'm hearing voices, and I'm not sleeping. So that, when you're in a situation like that, that is bad mental illness.
Yes.
And so I give examples in that, and I kind of summarize the whole DSM-5. The DSM-5 is what psychiatric doctors use to diagnose and treat your mental illness.
A sneak peek into that? Yeah, I mean...
A sneak peek.
Yes, yes.
So I summarized it, and I'm giving examples with what I was going through.
Okay.
So say anxiety.
Yes.
Now in the US, I don't know about here, but in the US they have done a survey with the Gen Z.
Yeah.
The Gen Z themselves, they are reporting that there is persistent anxiety, like 44% of them. That's almost half, half the generation.
Yeah.
They are experiencing persistent anxiety. And anxiety has something to do with your calling in life. It's not a fear of a specific thing per se. It's just a deep sense that something is wrong and you want it to be right. So, but chronic anxiety leads to depression. So 33% of them are reporting persistent depression. And those are like those are like common codes as far as mental illness is concerned.
Yes.
So you don't want to have bipolar. You don't want to have schizophrenia. You don't want to have addictive disorders, because those are big problems to have. Yeah. But my situation, I don't know about you, but I usually tell people, because I know mental illness, see, it's not the brain that's not working right. It's the mind. And the mind kind of controls the brain. But there's confusion. Most people use the mind and the brain interchangeably. And
Yes.
those two are different.
They are very different,
Yeah.
but unfortunately not a majority of people understand that there's a mind and there's a brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my situation was purely spiritual. There was a spiritual problem going on, and I was able to overcome it. They told me, I stayed home. Now at this point I'm working as a nurse practitioner.
Yes.
So, and this happened on June 1st, to be specific, 2017. I stayed home until August 1st, because first of all, when I got out of the hospital, I needed to know how I got there. So I had to go after the root of the problem. But I knew the problem was spiritual, and I handled it spiritually.
Oh, wow.
So, two months later, I'm back to normal. I went back to work. I've never had that problem again.
All right.
So, yeah.
So we need to separate the brain from the mind and understand exactly what it is that we're going through.
Yes.
So how did this all reflect, especially on your family setup? You're a mom,
Yeah.
and the kids actually called and sought help when they saw mom was not acting the way they used to have their mom act.
Yeah.
So how did it settle with them?
So my kids were traumatized. That's what they tell me. But I talked to them later, and I told them this is nothing to be afraid of. Your mom is going to be back to normal. And now, when they see me actually teaching people about health and wellness, they are like, okay, something good came out of it.
Something good came out of
Yeah.
your children witnessed what you were going through.
Yes.
What impact did it have on them? if you may?
So my kids say they were traumatized, but I had to talk to them, and I had to tell them exactly what was going on with me. Because when I was going through this, I wasn't confused. I knew what was going on, and I knew the issue was spiritual. What I could not do, all the skills, I had learned about coping skills as a nurse, none of them was working. And that's because the issue was not actually mental health. It was more than mental health. There
Okay.
was a spiritual aspect to it.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. So then going forward, what plans do you have, to, build capacity to those who watch your podcast, who read your books, and who have met you maybe probably for the first time through this particular channel?
Yes. So I have written about 14 books so far since then. Because
Wow.
what happened after my experience, I was able to look at things critically. Now, when I went to the hospital, the doctor diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. And I knew somehow the doctor was wrong. I also used spiritual coping skills like prayer, dealing with the issue through prayer, and asking God to show me what had gone wrong here. What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? And to God's grace, I was healed. Within 2 months, I was back to work, and the issue has never come back. Now, this kind of helped me, because I knew when I went for my second appointment, my diagnosis, by the way, was changed 3 times in 2 months. So after I got discharged from the hospital with a bipolar disorder on my diagnosis, and I knew it was wrong, and I knew what to do, by the time I went for my follow-up appointment, they changed it again. They say, oh, that could not have been bipolar. You recovered too quickly. But they knew, at this point, they knew that I had witnessed trauma. So they said it was PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. 2 months later, they said it couldn't have been post-traumatic stress disorder. This was an acute stress disorder. I said, I could have told you that. It's only that I did not have the language.
Right.
There was something that was actually bothering me. But I recovered, And that was that. Okay. So I started teaching. That's how my teaching ministry was launched, to look at things critically.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you're given an opportunity to tailor make, you know, a way to actually teach this in this particular spectrum, or rather the Kenyan scope, would you have done it differently, or what areas would you focus on?
I don't think I would have done it differently. And actually my experience kind of showed me. Now when I look at things critically, let's say I have somebody who comes to me with high blood pressure. I look at research, the medical science. What do they say? What are they saying is the cause of this problem? And I also look at the medication that we give. And I can tell you that high blood pressure is also a mental health disorder. Because the tension, you see hypertension. So hyper is something that's high. And tension means there. Yeah. So I'm looking, where is the tension? The tension is actually in the mind. And the mind affects the brain, and then the brain affects the body. So I can teach people how to relax the mind so that their body can relax.
Okay. So parting shot as we bring this to a close.
Yes. Parting shot. I have written what really, and I summarize what really makes people sick into 4 parts. Acute illness, like your common colds, no big deal. Then there's the lifestyle diseases, like I used to have from not sleeping, gaining weight from not sleeping. And then there's the diseases from within, which is entertaining negative thoughts, like fear, anger, unforgiveness, those kind of things. They cause diseases, you know, resentment, bitterness, envy, the whole gamut. And then there's the spiritual disease. I call those diseases from the other side. And you just had my testimony with bipolar. That was a disease from the other side. It was spiritual.
All right.
Yes. One more thing. Yes. I have the game changer. This is about fasting. Fasting is the game changer. Fasting has spiritual benefits and also physical benefits. And then what prevents people from healing? So I have that also documented here.
All right.
Yes.
So you chose to not only speak, but also put what you have learned in books.
Yes.
From a first respondent to now being a patient and now to being a helper.
Yes.
Thank you very much for wearing all those hats to just change the narrative when it comes to matters health, and most precisely when it comes to matters of mental wellness. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
now
you.
This brings us to a close on Women on the Forefront. We have been speaking to none other than Alice Wangoi Munyo, who has lived the talk, walked the talk, so to speak, from a family nurse practitioner to being a patient herself. And right now, she's on a journey to build capacity within communities when it comes to matters of health, as well as mental wellness. I'm Regina Manyara. You're watching KBC Channel 1.
Nineteen nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's...
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Now, Family Check is the segment on air right here on Good Morning Kenya, and we talk matters relationship this morning. And the question we are asking you is love enough to sustain a relationship? We had this conversation last week on Monday, and due to our public demand, you requested that we get to continue with it because we didn't get to finish or speak about it like we should have, like in depth. We had little time, and here we are back at it again. And remember, you're open to give us your contribution on the same. The number is 0716 103 301. 0716 103 301. Is love enough to sustain a relationship? And joining me for this conversation today, we have Might, who's here with us. Might is a trainer, a mentor, and also the CEO Pro Mentors Africa. Welcome to the program, Might. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, and also joining us today, we have my fellow colleague right here, my co-host for the day, that is none other than Mike Megwe, joining us for this conversation.
This is interesting. I want to hear what Mike is going to say about this topic, because love, it's a whole different case.
Yeah.
But is it really enough? Are you swiping left or are you swiping right? Mapenzi tu imetosha. Mapenzi pekee, hakuna kitu kingine.
But even before we get deeper into the conversation, because maybe I would love to get your remarks on this, Mike. Would you say that love is enough? Or to you, what exactly does love mean?
Well, it's one of the fueling aspects that a relationship needs. But me, from my standpoint, I don't think it's enough. When it comes to mapenzi now, is it the only thing that can drive a relationship?
Unajua kitu moja ni kudefine love ni gani. Yeah. To define love ni gani, because love must have other things that support. Okay, love is there. Love is not equivalent to other things. Love is there, but for this to work, there must some things to be done.
There needs to be components that are, you know,
ambaye zitafanyika. Love ndio hii. Mungu alitupenda. Lakini he's calling us to do something towards that love. So love is something, the inner thing, the inner belief system of something. How I start hizi zingine za expression. But there is what we call distortion of that what I felt within my heart. So those distortion ndio sasa zinaleta component that love is not enough. Love is the only thing. It must be there. So that is a primary thing. But within this thing, lazima ilimiwe. Lazima upalilie. For you to get the result you want.
Okay, we have to kupalilia and kulimia, but I also want to hear from you. Do you think love is enough?
Love can be enough, but for me, I believe that love is just the foundation. When there's love, you've got the most powerful foundation of that relationship. Now you need to go on adding things onto this love for it to be enough. But just as it is, with just the foundation, and you're not adding on to things onto it, then probably it might not be enough. Because, you know, as we were arguing off air, Might, nilikuwa nimekuuliza, you know, with just love peke yake, kama inaweza, mimi nikisema kuwa I don't think it can. You know, there has to be communication, there has to be shared goals, shared values, there has to be trust, there has to be respect between the two of you and whatnot. And when you talk about communication, we're talking about effective communication between the two of you. And you said, hizi zote zinakosaje kuwa kama kuna mapenzi?
And ilifika wakati gani hizi zikatolewa kwa love? Because
so they are part of love.
So they have to be inside. So love is the blanket component.
Unajua maisha imefika mpaka pahali tunaanza kutoa hii. No, is they are part of the love. Because if I love you, then kuna ile kitu hata nakuambia. Nakuambia iko smart. But I will start now talking it out. But this love that is not being spoken out, then it cannot be love. Atini secret admirer tunakupe aje sasa. I have to tell you. You need to know, because all of us are autonomy beings. We are unique beings.
Yes.
You don't reason the way I reason. You have a software vile umelelewa kwa familia yenu na vile nimelelewa kwa familia yangu. Ni kweli? So kuna vile mimi wana lovers. Hizi vitu vipengele ndani ya love, kuna vile nilipata ile software kutoka kwa familia yangu, vile niliona baba yangu na mama yangu wakifanya, unaona? Vile wakipendana, ama niliona baba yangu akipiga mama yangu. So maybe I will define love as that.
Yeah.
So umekuja ndani na tunapendana hapa, na I believe even some culture usipopigwa haunipendi. So sijui tuseme maji, because culture iko hapo, na culture is something that grows every day.
And that's why I'm saying you can't say all these other components are part of love. They are different, because now, as you've just put it, very well put it, that we are two grown-ups, you know, we've each grown up in different environments, different mentality, like things that were fed into your mind are different from what was fed into mine, right? And then now we've come together, we're supposed to be one. That is how it's supposed to be. That is how love, that is the relationship when you're becoming a couple or romantic love, you need to be one. Even that, the Bible says so.
The good book says
you leave your dad, you leave your
2:18.
families, and come be one. So now when you're coming to be one, it cannot be automatic that now we have the same thinking. It cannot be automatic.
There's also the aspect
simply because of love.
Individuality. When we come together, you're different, I'm different. But because we are in love, does it mean that one of us has to lose their individuality?
Hapana. Lazima kwanza ni admit wewe ni nani. Mike, unalalanga na unangorota. Mimi kwetu sijaisikia mtu anangorota. So kuna vitu sipendi pia. Na sio kupenda, ni vile I'm not wired that. So my mindset. So lazima tufike pahali tuanze kuangalia. Enyewe kuna ile inani drive kwako. As a lady. So iko ina drive kwako, na kuna ile ushai notice zile as in drive zinakuanga mingi. Lakini kuna kamoja mazika na nigonga roho, inaona mazi I can't do without this lady. I can't do this without this guy. But now we need to go beyond that to realize all of us are selfish.
Yes.
You're selfish on your own way, and it's not bad. It's the way you have been, the mindset yako based on kule umegroia. Imagine mimi nimegroia Dando. Umegroia another place Kileleshwa ama Murang'a ama Kisumu. So you have a different software on how you see things. And I have different software of how I see things. And here there is something that have pulled me, and I see, oh dem lazima, maze ninampenda tu. Then we must now come on the table and start now analyzing this thing. We start, I love cooking. For you, no, stay in the kitchen, I cook for you. Then itafika pahali your friend, your circle, I call it saloon methodology, wanakuambia maze utaleja ikupikia hata kitu hata kama yai utalia kupendi. So there are other voices that are surrounding me. And you have voices. So how do we manage these voices so that it does not distort the love we have? Love is there, but the voices distort. How I've been brought up distort this love. So there must be something to be done. There must be communication. Not only communication. There must be tuongeaniaje, how do I correct you? Is it an open-ended question? Is it a closed-ended question? Sasa ni suti gani ulivaa leo? And there's a way I can tell you, wazia kasuti kakopoa, lakini ka last week kalikutoa poa. Sijaribu, you know. Mimi kwetu ni ile pap
blunt.
Wewe kwenye jazoea hivi.
So you also need to be conversant of that.
Alafu ule jamaa unapenda Haku comment uko smart. Alafu umekuja hapa KBC.
Kila mtu ananiambia unakapoa.
Kila mtu maziko smart unashangaa. Hiki jamaa kikuona.
Which now brings about a very important aspect of communication. But even before we delve into that, remember you can be part of this conversation by texting us via WhatsApp or calling. The number is 0716 103301. 0716 103301. So, communication. How should it be approached now? If at all we are saying, yes, love is there, but then again, when it comes to communicating, how do we navigate that space?
Number one, in communication, lazima to realize wewe uligrowia wapi.
Yes.
Familia yako iko namna gani. Mimi niligrowia na nimebring you up na single mother. My mother, kuna vipengele aliweka ndani yangu kuhusu love.
Yeah.
Baba yako alituacha. Baba yako ni hivi, baba yako ni hivi. So even as you get, kuna kakitu kana kuvuta kwamba unanipenda, lakini unaanza kukumbuka ile software huko, you know, wanaume ni wale wale. You get? So first is the software you have. And now I need to start communicating this software and nianze kuona, even taking you social issues, social places, how are you handling this, how are you handling things. I need to be so keen on your behavior pattern. Hakuna ile tutakuja official. In fact, in love you become official itawaka. Because kuna vitu utaficha.
Yeah.
Tuko pamoja lakini sometimes mmeenda tu kwa mabeste. Kuna vile utabehave. Ugala angalie enyewe bazi. Sijajua kwa kapati kako. Unaona? So in communication si ati kuongea peke yake. Verbal and non-verbal. And especially non-verbal communication. Inaongea sana.
Yeah.
Inaongea sana kuliko mdomo. Mdomo inadanganya my friend. Labda mazee nimekufa na wewe. Si hata tutafufuka.
There's a question
vitendo haziko.
Yeah. There's a question that came up last week whereby someone was suggesting that a man was given that responsibility to love the woman, right?
Yes.
Biblically as well. And the woman's responsibility is to
respect me.
Yes, respect. You know? So how does that, you know, how do we move around that whereby it feels like the man has that responsibility to just love? Mimi si lazima nikupende. Wewe ukinipenda, we can still have a relationship and build a home together. Is that possible?
Today in our work, things are evolving. The Bible and the good books were written based on that time, the social analysis of that time. And they were analyzing things. There's even somewhere they say, ladies should not put trousers, you should not do this, you should not do this. But things changed. There's a good friend of mine called Jesus came and say, I'm not coming to change
A good friend of yours.
Yeah. I'm not changing these.
Yes.
The roles zile mlikuwa nazo, ni sizibadilishi, lakini nazieka tu we penda. You get? So in today's era vile tuko, it's not only a component of a man loving.
Yes.
In fact, the reality today, ask a community, women love more. That's what they say. Wasemanga si hatupendi. But the truth is, mwanaume anaweza kuwa silent. It's only that ladies will talk more.
Yeah.
Ladies will express.
Yes.
They will express their love. They will say this and this. Mimi niko tu, lakini nakupenda, nakufa na wewe.
Yeah.
I wish ladies they realize that tunawapenda sana.
Yeah.
But there's the analogy nowadays that I've had with most ladies. Wanasema, wewe usijipatie kimbelembele ya kupenda mwanaume. That is the job of a man.
But
you know, because a woman can learn to like and can learn to love you. But for a man, they cannot learn to do that. They either love you or they don't.
Anchoring on what Vivian has said, Mike, tell me if this is right. It's easy for a man to make a lady fall in love with them as opposed to a lady making a man fall in love with them.
Yeah, because a man will love if they love. If they don't know how to pretend.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mwanaume hata pretend for long. Atapatikana tu.
Yeah. A woman, if you're doing right by me and whatnot.
Yeah. Na kuoneshe, that's why your component that I love and the woman, you just respect should be there.
Yes.
It's a two-sided. I respect you, respect me. To me, my view, my perspective today, I should love you, love me. It's a two-way. It's a two-way. Because we are starting to live together. But if ni pale tu respect, respect also is a component ya ile love. So to me, because in loving you, I must respect you. So I think the good book was talking about me ni kulove na ni kurespect. But this to me is one. Because I cannot respect you if I don't love you. If I don't appreciate you. There's some other components zinaenda na mimi siwezi kukupenda na sikurespect na sikuappreciate.
But can it be lost in the interpretation? Because
absolutely.
Men, I think the interpretation of love for men is respect. But for ladies, it goes even to action.
Ladies, they want tangible things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something they can see. For us, iko tu. Naweza tukuko hao na sina stress. Ushaifika pahali, jamaa kushikwa kama una cheat. Hakuna watu waoga kama majamaa. Ni vile sio jifanya mautero. Lakini I'm telling you. Niko pahali dunda tu hivi alafu wifi ingia hivi. Wewe unasikia kaniko utaingia chini. Ni vile tu nataka kujifanya mwanaume lakini it's one of the things that kill us fully. Because wewe unapenda kabisa. Unaona? Lakini kwa dem anaweza cheza game mingi sana zile mwanaume hawezi cheza.
I don't know if I'm agreeing with that.
A lady will even see atakuonesha vile anapenda na talking the truth hayuko hapo. Talking the truth kuna kipengele fulani that huyu jamaa mazee analipa rent. Huyu jamaa wenyewe ana.
Oh, like there's what is keeping
tu pale for the sake. Jamaa ataficha. Jamaa iko hata akijaribu kuficha hai last long. Itapatikana tu. Utakuta tu pahali nime switch off.
Okay.
Na ukiswitch off huko.
Yeah. I remember you can join this conversation. Our lines are officially open right now. You can call in and give us your reviews or remarks on the same. 0716-103-301. 0716-103-301. We cannot wait to hear from you. Lady, gentleman, just call in and give us your perspective on this. Do you feel like love is enough to sustain a relationship? Kama sio enough, nini ingine inahitajika for a relationship to be healthy and long-lasting? Now, Mike, is it possible to outgrow someone you love? Because I'm sure you've heard of this. I feel like the love is fading. I don't feel the spark anymore. So, is it possible to outgrow someone you love?
And hii kuja sasa haiko. What was the genesis? Labda ulinipenda kwa sababu ya kitu fulani.
So the only way
sababu ya kitu fulani ita fade.
So if the only time it fades, it's because it was pegged on something.
Yeah.
This love was not just unconditional.
Na sijui ama I used to tell some Nairobi University students. Nikipitia hapo na kiatu na imeparara waambie dem hi. I want please give me a break. Hata ukipitia hapo na kakaa haya anachuna ata smile. Na akismile hata mjuane hivi. Yani today imefika pahali what you have we are relating it with the love. Ama kitu uliona ndani ya ujamaa. Ujamaa alikuwa smart. Alikuwa anavaa suti na hivi na hivi. Siku ile utachange your dressing. Then I'm like,
so if that translates to love being conditional.
Absolutely.
Today. Now, if that is the basis of a relationship, then there is no aspect of longevity within that aspect.
That's why today, that's why it has been distorted, the real love. Because tunaangalia, mazee, hata wazazi they are contributing. Huyu jamaa amesoma.
Anafanya kazi gani?
Kwanza hiyo swali iko. Huyu jamaa anafanya kazi gani? You know, we are comparing. Na si ati ni mbaya ama ni mzuri, lakini we are relating other things. What if wakati job yangu itaisha? Will you still be there? Will you die with me? Some people are dying with somebody. Unaanza kuangalia mimi ndio na mingi as a lady kuliko jamaa, and it's happening. But I think hizi vitu sio mbaya, but do we love genuinely such that wakati hii itakuwa I'm still with you. Sio lazima. Good books will say a man should provide, a woman should do what?
A woman
I
should
think
submit.
today's era it's different. You're working, I'm working. That was them days ambayo women were just in the house. Today you're working, I'm working. So we can come on the table.
I'll have to cut you short a bit. Let's pick our caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm very fine.
All right, talk to us. Tueleze, do you feel like love is enough to sustain a relationship?
I know.
Tueleze, reason yako ya kusema no ni gani, Steve?
Unajua nowadays, madem yani wanadai tu. Then alafu hii kwanza kucheat. Kucheat is another thing. So love. Bila kuna love.
Yeah. So una feel So una feel love peke yake haiwezi.
Haiwezi.
Nini inasaidia relationship then ku last longer?
Maybe ukipata mwenye mnapendana na yeye. So hiyo ndio inaweza nini?
So unasema bado mapenzi kupendana si ni love. Still. Unasema maybe ukipata mwenye mnapendana na yeye. Kwa hivyo love is the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sawa. Asante for your contribution. You can also get to call in live 0716103301. Steve amejichanganya. Nasema mapenzi si kila kitu lakini bado to make a relationship.
Love itakuja bado.
Alafu amesema mambo ya do na cheating. So how do they relate sasa? Maybe angetuelezea kabisa how they relate in maintaining a relationship. But mambo ya do.
Finances. It's actually the main reason why marriages fail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say you are in the nascent stages of your relationship, mmeanzana tu, mmepatana. When do you bring the financial talk?
Immediately tumeanza tu kudate hivi. Jua mimi wana.
On the first date.
On the first date.
Really?
Kwa kwanza?
Hey, you're nayo ni kucome in strong sana.
Wacha nikwambie, na ndio unaona.
Yes, ndio.
Kwa nini? No. Ndio nisikwambie mambo ya heaven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Na kuvaa moti. Mimi wa hivi. Hata una hivi. So both of us ndakupeleka out, utanipeleka out. So tumeanza to ease the way. And the moment you start talking how you are, in fact hiyo inatokea wakati naanza kujua who are you. Many times you talk about how you are caring, you are this and this, but you're not talking about your status of finance.
I hear that Salim is on the line. Let's get to listen to Salim. Salim, good morning. It's like we've lost him.
Yeah.
Sawa.
In fact vitu zingine zinakuja, si ati nitasema chapa yangu ni my wealth is this.
Yes.
But by the word go, I realize maze hii mwezi pale iko sina hata ndururu. Unaona? Na mimi jamaa nisijifanye utero mpaka sometimes kupeleka out even when I don't niende kukopa hapana. Sweetie leo mimi nimekaa mbaya. Salary last month imeisha nini.
But I feel like the conversation of finances, especially in the dating stage, early dating stage, maybe you don't need to mention what you're earning, but get to understand when this dating of ours makes something out of it, you know, maybe we come to a point where now we are starting to live together, we get married and whatnot. I think swali yenye mnafaa kuanza kuulizana huku kwa dating ni wewe, when we are in marriage, what do you expect me to do financially? What do I expect you to do? I feel like that's how the conversation should be. Wewe una expect nani analeta nini kwa table, nani analeta nini kwa nyumba, nani analeta nini, so that you get to understand. Maybe the lady you're with, yeye ni wale mwenye ana believe msichana afai kutumia pesa yake kwa nyumba.
The moment you brought something called classical conditions.
Yeah.
When you bring classical condition, unaleta nini? Haitaenda mbali. Kuna vitu zingine hautasema ni finance tuna discuss, but it just flows by itself. Just flows by the way, najua hata una wako wapi. Unaona?
Yeah.
Ujasema una ngapi, lakini na wako pahali fulani. See, inafika tu pahali unasema mazee kasarari kale nilikuwa napewa mazee. Siku hizi kana yenu umeanza imekuja tu ina flow. Inaanza kutoku flow. So the moment inaanza ku flow is when you come to realize by the time tutakuja pamoja, ulikuwa unalipa rent, nilikuwa nalipa rent. Tufanyaje? Kuna haja kulipa rent mbili? Hapana, tukae pamoja. So hii rent moja tumeanza kulipa, hii nyingine imebaki. Tukweli, hii nyingine tunaweza fanya nini nayo? Lakini sikue wewe ndio okay, some people say this is what you do pap and it work for them. Others will say hii ni ya hii. To me personally, atusemangi wewe utalipa hii na mimi ndalipa hii. As we do it as one with my wife. As is responsibility yake anahitaji this and this and this, might you the one doing this and this. For us even account is one. Salary yake itaingia, yangu imeingia, tunajua tunafanya nini na nini. Haina ati wewe role yako, salary yako ni hii and yako ni hii, and it's working. But depend with each person.
We have a caller from Nakuru. Joy from Nakuru. Good morning if you're hearing us.
Morning.
That's George.
Oh, George, yes.
Yeah.
What is your contribution?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, you know, I can see people talking about love.
Yes.
I just want to know.
Go ahead, George. Do you feel like love is enough?
What first I want to know?
Continue.
What is love?
You tell us now, George.
How do you understand love?
Because I have never fallen in love. I'm like 50 years. And it has affected my life so much. I don't even know what is love.
Yeah.
So maybe Mighty there
yes,
can explain to me what is love.
Well, okay.
All right.
So Mike will get to explain that. And even before you leave, maybe George, you know, after getting the understanding of what love is, do you feel like it can be enough to sustain a relationship? George?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think
we've lost it.
Now,
answer that.
Name love.
Yeah.
It is something that is inside. If you tell me, do you love me? I tell you sometimes I don't know. Because it's an expression that it is in the heart, and sometimes there is no hormone to interpret why I love you. It's something that comes within me, and I just feel comfortable with somebody. I just feel comfortable with my mom. I love her. Lakini hiyo is because vile amenilea tunaanza. Lakini kwa nikaa dem inafika tu pahali something triggers the inside me and I feel, hey, this person. There are some things utaangalia hata tabia zake zinakupendeza tu. And on the process you find, you start feeling that hey, tunaweza kama hey, you're smart. Hey, you start now expressing some small things based on my selfish me. Alafu ule mwenzangu ataanza kufeel, kuna kakitu umesema pia, kama ni touch. So there's that inside thing that you feel of someone. The inside thing that it cannot be even expressed.
Okay.
Because that's why you find sometimes ninasema love unakutua wakati wa wazazi wetu. Mama anapigwa the whole night, amepigwa anarudi kwao. Baka masistake unakuta baka amerudi kule.
Okay, we have to take another call before we lose that caller. Hi, good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Ukoje?
I'm good.
All right, Sigei, tueleze, what's your take on the conversation that we're having?
Okay, to me, I think love is not enough. It needs something like a flavor, like money. So that maybe you can at least add the flavor of the relationship.
What are these flavors that need to be added on to love for it to be enough?
Okay, it's good to treat maybe your partner in a good way. Then if maybe even the partner was not in deep love with you, it will enhance it. Like when maybe you don't have money, then thereafter maybe you want to at least entertain your partner, and then you have nothing. So that means love will fade. Yeah.
So tumerudi pale kwa most of the love that we're experiencing right now, most of it ni conditional, sio unconditional.
Yes. Because mostly, currently, the most ladies are following money.
I don't know what to say as a lady.
Because even men,
yeah,
they are looking for somebody who can bring something to the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sigei, for contributing.
This
lazima kitu kutrigger.
Yes.
Why love?
But love generally, you know, if you were to define it, love is a strong feeling of affection. In simple terms, it's just a strong feeling of affection.
and must be triggered, and that's why there are 3 ladies. Why did it come to this? I love you and not this. So kuna kitu itakutrigger based na vile umelelewa. Kuna mtu ataangalia na huyu dem ni mrefu. Na kitu kutrigger tu, I love tall ladies. There's a trigger that now, that trigger now start cultivating within me.
Based on what Sigei has said, it also brings about questions around the aspect of what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table?
Let's pick this one more call and then we'll get back to that. All right, Patrick, good morning.
Good morning.
Talk to us, Patrick. What's your take on this? Wewe unasemaje, love inatosha ama lazima iongezee vitu zingine?
My take is like this, really. My take...
Kindly mute your TV, kindly mute your television.
My take is this, huh?
Yes.
When God created human beings, when God created human beings, he and what happened there? The first marriage, to Adam. And that is where the love started. What we are experiencing right now is what is called infatuation.
Oh.
There is no total love there at all. Because when God says love, love contains all the elements that we can feel and see. What I mean is that even respect is within the love. All things, when somebody loves you, he is responsible for the entire of you. And not only on the side of a relationship of a man and a woman. But you see, these days, it takes the other side of loving, whereby it cannot work at all. And that is where we fail. Because when God says man to love the woman, he means it. And it is not only love by seeing the face or the figure. But he says when man loves a woman, the woman, he will take care of the woman, he will be responsible for the woman, he will be everything and protect the woman. But you see these days, when a woman and a lady and a man meet, it is the lady that now proposes to love the man. And the man fails to take his responsibility as the one who was told to love. Because to respect. And respect is within the was given to man. As I'm in some comments in the screen, those are components of love. And you see, when we take love as just a mere thing to do as people who don't even trust God, then we are going to miss it.
All right, thank you.
I want to say that we go back to what God said and know love as what God said to be done. Then, after that one, then we will have all the components in the love. So what I'm saying, love is enough to sustain a relationship.
All right,
and
thank you.
I want to tell ladies, don't take a part which is not yours. When a man loves you, the man means what he does. So don't love men, but let men love you. Vivian, take it from me that when you love a man, somewhere, in some state, you'll have to say. Then when a man loves you, it will be something that will go on and go on.
right.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you so much. And I agree with Patrick, by the way. That's what we were saying. Wewe usijifanye na kierere ya kupenda watu. As a woman, let the man love you. And then the relationship will flow as it's supposed to flow.
Unajua anaongea based on context ya biblical.
Yes.
Because wakati mwanaume alikuwa peke yake, hakuna kitu ilimtrigger. Alipewa power, akaname hizi until the time God akarealize ameboeka. Then he was made to fall in a deep sleep. Wakati aliamka hivi, aliona mtu anafanana. It triggered and he was like, wow.
Yes. Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
So even in today's life, there must be something to trigger you. It might be education. It might be whatever it is, but we must go beyond that trigger. Ndio isifike pahali fade.
Yeah. Hakuna spark anymore.
Hakuna spark anymore.
All right, let me read a couple of messages that have come in. Someone is saying, love is not enough. You can stay in a relationship yet no love, especially when it comes to marriage. I am a married lady, but I am deeply in love with another. Okay. Now this is chaotic, but I'm deeply in love with another married man. I feel that I love him more than my husband. Okay. All right, another one here. Someone is saying, my take is that love is a beautiful thing, but love alone is not enough to sustain a relationship. A lasting relationship needs trust, communication, commitment, and respect. Love is the spark, but it's the daily choices and effort that keeps the flame alive. There are so many messages. Mwingine anasema ili kile kinaweza fanya mapenzi imarike, kwanza ni heshima, utulivu na uvumilivu. Hizo tatu ndizo zitafanya mapenzi iwe katika ndoa. I think most messages are claiming that love is not enough.
But hizo vitu tunasema ni part of love. Tulizitoa aje kwa love? Heshima ni part of love. So uvumilivu is part of it. Mbona tunazitoa nje? They must be part of it. Heshima lazima ikuwe part of it. Respect lazima ikuwe part of it. Unajua ni part of this kikombe iko ndani. So ndani ya hii love ndio hizo vitu zinatoka. So tukiziseparate ni kama hizi vitu ziko nje na love iko hapa. So iko ziko nje na love iko hapa, then we are going wrong.
Okay, let me read more messages. Someone is saying love is a foundation, but the structure of a lasting relationship is built with trust, respect, shared purpose, communication, and efforts. With those, love alone can be overwhelmed by life's challenges. That's when he's saying, Emmanuel from BGM. I don't know where BGM is. Love is not enough. Also, support is needed. Love alone is not enough. You cannot see love, but you can make love to be known by doing what is needed. The example they've given for that explanation is that you can tell me you love me and you don't check on me. Sasa hapo love iko wapi?
That's why nasema hivi. And I think all this we agree in that. Yes. Ile tu tumefika pahali media na social media change love to be different. Ukiangalia the origin of love, hizo vipengele zote zilikuwa ndani. But we cannot ignore what is happening today. We cannot ignore.
But you have also to agree that amongst all those components, communication takes precedence.
It has to.
Absolutely.
It has to.
And how you communicate now is what matters, because you have to read tone, you have to decode the messages you are telling us. Those things, how you communicate matters.
Na tena communication yangu na wewe ni tofauti ya wewe na mwingine. Vile tuta communicate sisi wawili ni tofauti. I can borrow some ideas from a certain couple, but we must develop our own way of communication ambaye if we share with others they will see ai mna ufala lakini sisi tunaielewa lakini nyinyi hamwezi elewa ile tuna generalize vitu tunadhani ile communication vile new deal na udeni yako we should do the same. No. We are different, very different. We think differently. Yetu mimi na udem yetu tumeanza polepole na kuna watu watakuja waanze kuangalia tuna ufala, lakini kuna vile tumeanza kuelewana. Kuna vile nimeanza kuexpress. Kuna vile haizi lala kasi sijakuja. Kuna mwingine anasema wewe lala, si atakuja si utamwekea pota hapo hivi kula chakula. Unajua? Hiyo ni way yake. Our way is different. And I'm not saying kumwekea pota ni mbaya.
All right, and that is where we get to end the conversation today. Thank you so very much, Mite, for joining us. Thank you for the input. And a big thank you to each and every one of you who have gotten to participate on our conversation today. The messages are coming in. There are a lot of them. We can't be able to read all of them, but we really thank you for your participation. The ones who've called, thank you as well. Is love enough? You can continue with the conversation on our social media handles. That is at KBC Channel 1 across all platforms. My name is Vivian Dagwa. I was here alongside my colleague Mike Megwe, and our guest for the day was Mike. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.
I need you to do something for me. Don't leave this compound. I don't want you to be talking to anyone. Don't receive any calls and don't call anyone, okay?
You are Glenn Juguna, right?
Yes.
I think your mom, Tiff, and Malaika should change houses. You're going to tell me what's going on. Mbona Ruth anajificha?
Hata kama uko na ubaya na mimi, hakuna kitu naweza nifanya.
Madam, mimi sina ubaya. Na Ruth hayuko hapa.
I thought we are a team here. Na wewe nani kwanza?
Jill, unaniambia team.
Unakonga mrembo man.
We. Unasema hivyo ndio nikubatie chabati, si ndio?
Kata cabbage msuri ya watu wenye wanakula.
Nitakutandika kikombe ya supu wende ukiwaka moto.
Kule bangaije.
Kumando is mad.
Sasa hii ni nini?
Nilisaidia chirani jangu. Na hapa hata kujabadilika.
Nielezee kilichokuleta hapa nielewe. Nimechoka.
Yeah, you bwana. Don't bring me your frustrations, mimi nani. Nani kwa mimi kuna frustration. That's the reason why unavalia watu buibui. Hii ni gown. Makbada.
Kwani ni nini inaendelea hapa?
Hapa niko kuhesabu siafu alafu nizioshe.
Nenda kuambia mganga umechukua kazi.
Check wewe. Ala. Ngoja wacha kuingilia hapo.
And he's found the fielder there. Very unlike Ashan Telekaratna. Saw the man roaming around the area around mid-wicket.
And they might just do that. Out goes the out-of-form Jayawardena for just 5. And Colin Zaboya picks up his second wicket. He's now got 2 for 12.
Cricket is not just a game, it is a passion, a way of life, exuding the spirit, determination and camaraderie that has given rise to so many greats, including Kenya's own Obuya dynasty.
Not left the wicket. He's not left the middle. This will be referred, I'm sure. Has the catch been taken cleanly?
Look at Otieno move, dives forward. That's into the gloves. Sangakkara is going to have to go.
Well, he's absolutely delighted. He's confident. Kennedy Otieno, he did brilliantly.
The family boasts of 3 brothers, Kennedy, David and Collins, who have stood out for this country in the game of cricket.
Oh, that's a big shout for a catch behind. And umpire tipping finger goes up, and it is a big wicket for the Kenyans. Aren't they delighted?
Collins Obuya is the youngest among the 3 brothers, and having learned from the best, found his way to the under-19 team.
It was a long journey, and I'm very grateful that my brothers inspired me, and the journey has been good. And my brothers being in the part of the team, it has made me feel comfortable. that I managed not to perform without any pressure.
It didn't take long for him to be given a call-up in the senior team to make his ODI debut in 2001 against West Indies.
For the local club, I've been performing very well, and that performance led to the playing for the national team. And then after playing for the national team, I got a call-up in 2000. I made my debut against the West Indies. And from there, it has been a great journey. I've played 5 World Cups, 3 Senior World Cup, and 3 Senior World Cup, and 2 Under-19 World Cups.
His best achievement was yet to come, and in 2003, he not only made history with his teammates when Kenya reached the semi-finals of the ICC World Cup for the first time to pick 13 wickets.
And my best moment is 2003 World Cup, which we managed as a team to get to the semi-final.
Collins Obuya was also outstanding in their massive upset over Sri Lanka with a man-of-the-match performance of 5 for 24.
And then my achievement in 2003, it was taking 5 wickets against the Sri Lankan, which led us to make it into the semi-finals.
The right-handed batsman, who's also an all-rounder, was then contracted by Warwickshire County Cricket Club in England, but it didn't go down well.
The worst moment, it was my first professional cricket in England, in Warwickshire. I was playing against Australian pro. The match didn't go. The match didn't go our way. When I was betting, I was supposed not to get out, but I didn't get out. But it ended up by me and my teammate and the opposing teammate exchanging words. And that was my worst moment.
When he came back home, things had gone south, and he did struggle with a lot of things and worked on his bowling and did feature for Kenya in the quadrangular tournament against Bangladesh.
Both bowling and batting, I love doing them, and I think both batting and bowling have different challenges.
He's also proud of his other cricketer World Cup moments, and notably in 2011 when he stood out as the man of the match against Australia.
I represented Kenya in 2011. And then again, that was my best moment. I managed to score 98 not out against the Australian.
He was the captain then, having taken over from Jimmy Kamande, who later moved on to coaching.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that opportunity. It was a good challenge, and I don't regret about it. I did my best. I experienced a lot, and I'm really, really proud of that.
Collins Obuya has been a key player for Kenya since then and extended the same to his clubs as well.
The clubs that I'm playing for is at the moment currently is Obuya Cricket Academy. I started playing in my cricket in Aga Khan club. I went to Stray Lions, and then I played 2 seasons for Nairobi Simba, and now I'm playing currently in Obuya Cricket Academy.
His club's achievements are notwithstanding, he boasts of, among others, 5 outstanding Cricket World Cup appearances and 2 under-19 ones, which he attributes to his unwavering commitment to the sport.
What made me stand out is I can say the hard work and passion and dedication. We have been always competing among our brothers. When he scored 90. Is it 97 against the 1996 against the Australia in 1996 World Cup? And that was my goal, not to beat his achievement, and I managed not to beat it, and that was the competition among ourselves brothers.
Kolo, as is popularly called by his peers, decided to retire in March 2024 after the African Games in Ghana, where Kenya won a bronze, where he also went into the history books as the first player to score 1,000 T20 runs at 40 years of age.
I've done a lot of bowling and a lot of batting. My record, I think I've played around 500 games. 500 games, which is a very good achievement, and I'm proud of that. And betting-wise, I've scored. If you total all the runs from T20 and ODI, I think I've played more than my runs are more than more than 7,000 runs combined.
Collins Obuya has had a quite a remarkable career in cricket spanning 23 years, and all he wants now is to give back by nurturing more talents to take up the sport at the Obuya Cricket Academy.
What made me retire from the game is I felt it is the right time to retire. It was the right time because I've played for long and I've enjoyed myself and I'm proud of myself. What is in the plan at the moment is I'm going to work with Obuya Cricket Academy. I'll be coaching here, and I'm really proud of that, to encourage them and to teach them more about the game. The under-19 boys are coming up, and especially from Obuya Cricket Academy, we have like 10 kids coming up. And last year, under-19 qualifier, Obuya Cricket Academy produced, I think there were 8 players from the Obuya Cricket Academy. And from that, you can see that Obuya Cricket Academy is doing a good work and is producing players.
And that's how the Obuya dynasty lives on in the game of cricket, where heroes were made and legends are born, according to Brian Lara, and where the hopes and dreams of many await their fruition.
One simple thing that I'll advise is I'll always tell them sky is the limit.
Maurice's leaving, make it look easy. I'm there with the best of the lot. Ravi and shaky, there's no mistaking. They'll always be break of the crop.